Hello, Lund loyalists. John Lund Unleashed YouTubers, those watching on X and Instagram and listening on Apple or Spotify, please make sure you subscribe, like, and turn on your alerts so you never miss a show. And for all things Unleashed, go to johnlundunleashed.com. Live shows, archives, the blog, social media, links, and more. Now likely nursing a hangover. Unshaven, unshowered, and a 50-50 chance of his teeth being brushed. Here's Johnny. Here's Johnny.
Yes, thank you so much for joining us. It is a Thursday. We're on the downhill side of our week. I hope you are absolutely great. Prayers first go out to our good friend Skills, part of our community. John Lund Unleashed on YouTube. He is not going to be here this morning because his daughter has an issue, and we're all praying that she is great and everything is good, and this is a false alarm. So first of all, I want to make sure that is the first thing we mentioned today, because we're just talking sports over the next couple of hours. It is nightlife, and that is certainly a big issue. So that's our good friend Skills, and we're thinking about him today. Here's what we do. John Lund Unleashed on YouTube. Please make sure you're subscribing. Maybe you're watching on Instagram or X, and I love that, at John Lund Radio, where we post a bunch of stuff and social media and things like that. But if you move on over to the chat room, you have a great time. You make sure that you subscribe so you don't miss anything, because we post stuff all the time, not only with the show 8 a.m. Pacific time, but you can go back and watch it later. So maybe that's what you're doing as well. But if you'd hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, which is good for the algorithm, and make sure that you have your alerts on so that you never miss anything. Like last night, I posted a story late. I don't know what time it was, 10, 11 o'clock at night. Not late, but, fairly late. And right away, as I posted it, and it was a pre-tape thing that I did about, I told you I was going to do the odds on who could be opposite Nick Bosa. And I'll show you that in just a second. But as I posted it, there was Steve and a couple other people because they had their alerts on. And I was like, hey, man, what's going on? And because I'm live all the time, I was like, is this live? Is this like, what are we doing? So late at night, stuff like that, or shorts, things like that. I put a Draymond Green short out that as I talked about yesterday, he's much more Kendrick Perkins this early in his career than he is Charles Barkley. So things like that. And you want to make sure that you have your alerts on so you can get all the fun stuff. What we'll do, if you're new around here too, is make sure you check out John Lund Unleashed.com website, and what we've got there is live shows going on right now. There you can watch the show. There are archives for the YouTube show, podcasts that you can download. We're on Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your favorite podcasts. You can get those, and the blog, which I write just about every single day. And I got another idea for today, and then I put a video along with it, so you can check that out as well. So let me show you. No, I don't want a video file. Let me show you that as well, as we will be referencing it every once in a while. So if you go to johnlundunleashed.com, very cool. And then you can check out everything. Let me make sure that I find it here. I had one that was not even, I guess I'll have to show you this one. I don't know, that's my ex. Jeez, we are off to just a rockin' start. But anyway, you're going, no, that's the top 101 free agents. Maybe I didn't. Maybe because I'm not sure what I'm going to show you. And if I show you something behind the scenes, then you're going to be like, oh, bro, what's going on there? No, that's not the right one. Anyway, I might have screwed that up. Getting Bosa some help. Yeah. Oh, here it is right here. Sorry. It's taking a minute. It's early on in the show. We're good. There it is right there. And there's the piece, getting Nick Bosa help odds. It's one of these guys. And of course, I go through all this stuff about Max Crosby, Trey Hendrickson, which nobody's talking about, but he's got no more guaranteed money left on his deal. Khalil Mack, somebody they almost got. Joey Bosa's interesting. And there you see Mama Bosa wants it to happen, but how realistic is it? He is going to get released by the Chargers, but where is he going to go? And then Myles Garrett, my personal favorite that I put at 5-1. So if you want to check that out and the accompanying video, that's at johnlundunleashed.com. You look at the front page there. There is your host. That's me. Latest YouTube shows, the whole piece on the Bosas and who could get some help. The podcast is up there, and then your latest blog. So check all those things out at johnlundunleashed.com. More entertainment when, we're not around live between 8 and 10 a.m. So there's lots of content for you to check out. We're going to take a roll call in just 1 second, but it is episode 67 on this lovely Thursday. LeBron's foot looks absolutely fine to me. Crazy how that works. We will explain. The Warriors sprint down the stretch. They start tomorrow against the Kings, the NFL free agents who fit. I was going to do that yesterday, and then we kind of ran out of time. And then, so we'll do that today. Nick and who, that's exactly what I just explained to you. We'll explain that thing in further detail. 49ers cap situation, Matt Mayoko makes it a lot easier than I do, so I'm going to flash up on the board for that. I did one of your mock drafts because I was getting so much grief, and I did it mainly to prove something, which I'll explain a little bit later. Please mock my mock. I'm just screwing around with it. It's not like, blah, 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 blah. And this is, if you've ever done the one on Pro Football Focus, I don't do crazy stuff. I don't, get 20 trades in there and everything like that. I just kind of, however the board falls, whoever I think they need, and who knows, because the Underwear Olympics are coming up. Was it week after or next week? I guess it is, because I had somebody that was going to bring on as a guest, and they said, I'm going to be at the Combine. And I'm like, oh boy, Indianapolis and the Angry Beaver. Very nice. So that person was going to join me the week after and give me a whole recap of the Underwear Olympics. So that'll be good. What else? College is different. You're not going to believe what happened. A couple of cars got stolen. This was very different than when I was in college. We got that. The Hawaii pictures, which a couple of them were too big to upload. I'm upset because they were from the, Dirty Monkey is what it was called. It was from the Dirty Monkey. And I couldn't upload those, which is a bunch of Niner fans all around, but I did upload a couple of other ones that I think are going to be, you think are going to be funny. I told the story yesterday, so we'll follow up on that. DB at 11, that means Damon Bruce. I'll be on with Damon. So we'll go to, I don't know, probably quarter to 11, 10:30, whatever we normally do, 10, depending on how we're rolling. And then I'm on with Damon Bruce at 11 o'clock. So make sure you tune in for that. Damon and I will chop it up at 11. And then the news you've been waiting for. Tom Tolbert is starting his show on Monday. And so Tommy's going to stop by tomorrow and be on the show to preview what he's going to do starting on Monday. And his show, I believe, is going to go 3 days a week. I think he's going to do something like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, something along those lines. And hopefully Tommy and I will do something too during the week, like an hour a week or something together, which I think is going to be a lot of fun because he's awesome. So I've been in contact with Tom. He's just getting back from Vegas, and he's got a bunch of videos. So make sure that you're joining the Tom Tolbert Show page on YouTube. And then Tommy's going to join me tomorrow to preview his show, which starts on YouTube on Monday. And then random, if you're new around here, we just do random stuff constantly. It's just random. We don't know what's going to happen. It just, you guys pull me into this thing, and I'm not blaming you at all, but I look over at the chat line. I could be in the middle of something. My ADD kicks in. We go random. I start telling stories. It gets crazy. So that is what's going to happen today I think, unless we get distracted or something breaks. And I always like to try to keep, that's what I'm staring at over here. I got my iPad here. So I'm going to make sure I get my iPad going. Because like yesterday what were we? Like 3/4 of the way in the show. And all of a sudden we got this stuff on the cap. And I tell you this all the time. Like, do we really, how much do we want to talk about money, and how much do we want to talk about behind the scenes, and how much, I'm always very aware of those kind of things because we want to have fun, right? We want to talk about the sport itself. And it just seems like so many times we get distracted by all the things away from the actual sport itself. And so I try to, you got to mix it in. You got to tell the story. If it's relevant to what we're talking about, it's important. But a lot of times it's like, man, do you have to talk about behind the scenes and numbers and money and business of sports? Because I just want to talk about sports. So I totally get it. And I do want to say this real quick before we do roll call. We're going to talk about this LeBron James things last night, and they lose to Charlotte with a couple of LeBricks at the end of the game. And I'm a positive person by nature. I don't want to go onto the show every day and be negative. I don't want to do that. But like yesterday, you're watching the LeBron thing. It's like, oh my God, dude, really? You couldn't play in the All-Star game? But anyway, we'll get to that in a second. All right, let's do some roll call today, as everybody looks like they're in the house today. Joy is here. She says she's gonna be home all day. Steve, who like I said, late at night, I posted something there, Steve, and I wasn't live, but I was like, hey, Steve, what's going on? So it's good to see you. Jazz fan is in the house. Gizmo, hello. Skills Report. By the way, East Coast Red and Gold podcast, an awesome podcast that you need to be following if you're a 49ers fan. Really great. I was on their show last week. I popped in for a moment yesterday, saw Matt Barrows. By the way, East Coast Red and Gold podcast. Did you get Barrows on the screen? Like, I just saw a big M, like a purple M for Barrows, and he's such an attractive man that I wanted to make sure that you got him on there. But I did hang out for a while and listen to Matt Barrows because he's so good. So East Coast Red and Gold podcast. Skills, I didn't think you were going to be here, man. You got the update, bro? You got the update? Maybe I haven't gotten to it yet. Good morning to you, Skills. Prayers your way, and I sent you an email back to you, so I hope everything is great. Let me see if I got anything. She'll be at the hospital bright and early tomorrow morning. Oh, tomorrow morning. I'm sorry. I got it screwed up. I thought it was today. So Skills, we're all praying for you, brother. And hopefully it's just nothing. And this is just a scare and everything else. And like I told you in the email, doctors are good. God is good. We're not going to get religious or political on this show. But, man, when it comes to something like that, we're praying for you, brother. So, anyway, we want to make sure that everything is fine. So that's going to be tomorrow. So, all right, Skills. Good to see you, my friend. Everybody else that's here, 59, which is really 84, is here. Hi, Draft King. Good to see you, man. What are you talking about? Purdy will take a deferred contract and we'll nab Mac. I'm telling you, if they did deferred contracts, the Niners would be in line to do deferred contracts. And I told you at 𝐿undUnleashed.com that it's just a brilliant way to do things, but the Giants still don't. Good morning, Jake, to you. Vernon is here. Jesus is here. Good morning to you. Did I say 𝐬𝐮𝐬𝐫𝐿? Yes, Jeff is always one of the first in the room, and I want to make sure I acknowledge Jeff. Good morning, my friend. Every time I pop this thing up, there's Jeff, and I love it. So, good morning to everybody. Tremendous roll call. Everyone is here today. John Lund Unleashed on YouTube. Subscribe. Give us the thumbs up and keep those alerts on. JohnLundUnleashed.com. And thank you for watching on X and YouTube, or excuse me, X and Instagram. Let me check the Instagram real quick. Good to see everybody on Instagram. People are jumping on there as well. So any way you consume the show, we absolutely love. And remember, right after the show, we hit a button. Podcast, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your favorite podcast. Kyle is here too. I just saw Kyle jump into the room too. Good morning to everyone and happy Thursday. All right, let's start here. And like I said, I am a very positive person by nature. I think my wife can attest. She's way more positive than me, but I would say that I'm pretty positive. So let me start here. Oh, Matt didn't want to be on screen. He's an attractive man. I don't understand. Did he not realize it was a video podcast? But it's all right, man. Believe me, I sat there and watched, and it didn't really make any difference to me. So, Matt is Matt, and he gives out great information. So that's fine. I don't want to be on the screen either. I mean, look at me. If I can be on the screen, can't Matt be on the screen? I mean, this is a good day for me. I look a little tired, but anyway, I digress. All right, let's talk about LeBron. So look, you and I have had this conversation a million times, so we don't need to go tread over the same stuff. LeBron as a player, Mount Rushmore, top whatever, the argument can be made, all those things that I generally don't like to do, but LeBron's one of the best of all times, but he rubs you the wrong way a lot of times. And for the NBA, and we mentioned this earlier on in the week, you've got to play in the All-Star game. LeBron James, if I'm not mistaken, I meant to look this up. Wasn't he the leading vote getter? If he wasn't the leading vote getter, then maybe Steph was, and he was two, whatever. Definitely the top two, and I think the top vote getter in all of the league in the All-Star voting, which tells you, look, we're the fans. We get this one game that everybody complains and screams, and, oh, the fans are so stupid, and they don't know how to vote. What's wrong with the fans? And, oh, the fans. We fund this whole thing. We fund all of professional sports. I know literally we do not, but if we didn't go to the games, if we didn't watch, if all the eyeballs weren't on the games, they didn't have these ratings, then you wouldn't have the sponsors. The sponsors wouldn't care. The sponsors are paying ridiculous money, and they literally fund it, but they only fund it because we, the fans, are watching, because we, the fans, are consuming, because our eyeballs are on this, and it's deemed to be popular and good for these brands, these advertisers, to be a part of these leagues. It's based on us. And so for some reason, they complain that we get the one time we get, the one game we get, All-Star games. They don't know what they're doing, and this is stupid, and the All-Star games suck. And it's like, can you just give us what we want? Which is just, we want certain players. We voted those players in. And is this too much to ask? I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. But can we just, as fans, ask one tiny little thing? One thing. That's all we ask. The prices are up. The beers are $20. We consume this stuff. We do all these things, and we're generally, as fans, treated like crap. Generally speaking, the price, the monopoly money when you go to a game. I got to buy 20 different networks to watch the NFL, like all these different things. Yes, sir, may I have another? Like we just take it, and we take it, and we take it, and we take it. But we only ask one thing, one tiny thing, and you know what that is? I know you know. Just play hard. Care. Act like you care. Please act like you care. Act like you like our city. If you see us, maybe dab us up a little bit. Just give us the tiniest thing. If you throw a wristband into the crowd, oh my God! If you act nice to a kid, like we're ready. We go gaga. We want to like you. We want to like the product. We want to consume the product. We care about the product. I know you make your living and it's a big deal and all these kind of things, but we just ask one tiny thing: act like you care. Just act like you care. That's all. Is that too much to ask from a fan perspective? Please act like you care. So all these people are banging, all these smart media people are banging their head against the wall every time. This is so predictable. At the end of every All-Star game, there's two things. A, it sucked, right? Everybody writes it sucks. We know that. We've talked about it. It sucked. I could have done such a better job as a media guy. I would have done this, and this. And it sucks. And All-Star games suck and da-da-da-da-da. It's very predictable. All you have to do, starting with number one, just care. Just act like you care. Look what's going on in hockey right now. You watching this stuff? You consuming that? I mean, they figured it out. Ding, 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 ding. And the NBA tried to do something like that. Like, we're going to try to do these teams like the NHL. But you know what? The NBA players don't care like the NHL players do. It's just, I don't know what it is. I've said this before. Other countries care. They're treating like this, like the Stanley Cup Finals, these teams. They're playing for their country, and it's a big deal to them to be crowned. We're the best hockey country. It's big for Canada. It's big for Europe. It's the USA, which we don't normally get into this stuff. The Ryder Cup, we can take or leave. The World Baseball Classic, we're like, whatever. Like, for some reason, in American culture, when it comes to sports, we're just not into you. She's just not that into you. We're just like, whatever. We want to win the NBA championship, the trophy. We want to win the Super Bowl. We want to win the World Series. Like, these international competitions, other countries, for some reason, it's just bred into them that they care a lot more than we do. And we just are like, whatever. When it comes to all-star games or any of these kind of things, we just don't care. Fans do. And it's funny, the whole process, and I've said this before, the whole process of picking all-stars is big business, and complaining about who didn't make it and all these things, it becomes this big deal. And then the All-Star game is kind of a throwaway, right? And everybody writes how terrible it was. Okay, so is that as kind of the backdrop? And that was a long way to get where we're going. As that is the backdrop, we know this, and we've talked about it. If LeBron James was legitimately injured over the weekend, and as the leading vote getter, and outside of Steph, because it was in the Bay Area, the highest profile player that there is, and one of the best of all time. I'm sorry, I'm not going to do a list and proclaim someone's the best. This is as good as I do. He's one of the best of all time. He's the highest profile player in the game. And I cannot deny, at the age of 40, he's doing miraculous things that we will never, ever see again. Never, ever, 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 ever. He won the genetic lottery. He keeps himself in shape. He, generally speaking, has not had missteps, despite the fact that he was on the cover of Sports Illustrated at 17. ESPN was broadcasting his games at 17, and he's been pretty good. And the worst thing you might be able to say about him is, I'm taking my talents to South Beach. Like, that's the worst thing he did. That's not too bad. The annoying stuff, the crown, the this, the that, annoying, but not illegal. It turns some people off. So then I'm the NBA and I'm an advertiser. And an hour and a half before the game on Sunday, someone asks LeBron, and we played it for you earlier on in the week, hey, LeBron, what can we look for from you tonight? You're not going to look for anything from me because I'm not going to play. My foot and ankle hurt. An hour and a half before the game. So first of all, the NBA is like, really? And if I'm Budweiser, Coca-Cola, any of these major sponsors, I'm like, wait a minute, the highest profile player in the league, in the game, can't even try, can't go, can't jog up and down the floor because no one really cares. I don't care. You can do whatever you want with the All-Star game. It's not going to change. So an hour and a half before the game, with the backwards hat on and just kind of like, yeah, I'm just not playing. I'm just not feeling it. Okay. You got a major injury, dude. I get it, man. I'm not going to force you to play. But it's not like you're playing with NBA Finals intensity. We want you to walk or jog up and down the floor for 5 to 10 minutes during the game. Can't do it. And not only can I not do that, they take a picture of all the All-Stars in the Western Conference. LeBron's in the middle, of course, because his ego can't handle anything else but that. And he's in a backwards hat and some jeans and can't even bother to get into a uniform for pictures. So I'm thinking to myself, man, LeBron really must be hurt. That ankle and foot must really, really hurt. And by the way, I haven't consumed it yet. I'm going to do it tomorrow so that we can talk about it with Tolbert. But the doc that's going on right now on Netflix, Court of Gold, he had to win the MVP, even though, Steph was the MVP, because if you don't give LeBron the MVP, I mean, his ego is just shattered, right? So they're like, sorry, Steph, we apologize. We know you're the MVP. Clearly, it's all anybody talks about is what you did. Not only that last shot, but over the last few games. But here's the bottom line. We got to give LeBron the MVP. It's just his ego will not handle it. And we'll get into the Lakers too, because Luka's basically become an off-ball player, which he's not. And it's going to take a while for them. But I digress. So the whole reason I bring this thing up is the highest profile player can't be bothered to play, can't be even bothered for pictures to get into a uniform an hour and a half before the game, decides he's not going to play because of foot and ankle injuries. And oh, by the way, I'm an advertiser going, what the what? And I'm a viewer going, what the what? And he won't play. He won't play. So back to the original premise. As fans, all we do is ask you to act like you care. Act like you care. Like, we all have bad days where it's just like, God, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be working. I don't, I got family issues. I got this, I got that. I just don't want to do it. But we have to fake it. We just have to fake it. Just act like it. And they can't even be bothered to do that. LeBron can't even be bothered to do that. Well, what does that tell the next generation of player? If someone plays hard, like this was the thing about Kobe. Kobe didn't, it was like, look, we're playing hard in the All-Star game. That's how it's going to be. And we got a problem with that? Come to me. Because we're going to compete and that's what it takes in the All-Star game. We don't, you know what, if it's globetrotter-ish, if it's not exactly perfect, if we don't love the format, that's fine. But you look at the All-Star game weekend, and here's the biggest problem, and I'm not a complainer because I defended it. But as much as I love Steph and as busy as he wasn't in the three-point. That tells me he doesn't care about it. Nobody wants to be in the dunk. That tells me nobody cares about it. Max McClung, please. He's a G League player. Nobody cares about the dunk. Why should I? Nobody cares about the three-point. Why should I? The highest profile guys aren't in the skills challenge on Saturday. Why should I care if they don't care? And then on Sunday, the game comes about, and the highest profile player can't get in a uniform. An hour and a half says he doesn't want to play, which tells me as a fan, he doesn't care. And then as the highest profile player, that permeates through the entire sport. So the cool thing to do now for all the players, even though maybe they wanted to play hard, they don't, and they won't, because they don't want to be uncool, because LeBron's the leader. So LeBron doesn't want to play. I don't want to play. LeBron doesn't care. I don't care. LeBron's not going to get dressed. I'm not going to get dressed. Like, that's the highest profile guy. Set an example. Be a leader. Is that too much to ask? So, okay, that's the backdrop. So this is last night. Let me start with this. I don't think I edited this very well, but he's dancing all over the floor. Again, foot and ankle injury. Can't play on national TV. There are 3 high-profile things that an advertiser wants when they back the NBA: playoffs, NBA Finals, All-Star games. That's the only 3 things. I don't care about Charlotte and the Lakers not on national TV on a Wednesday. But that's what LeBron James prioritized over the All-Star game. Here's LeBron doing a little dancing before the game. The ankle looks fine to me. I mean, again, I'm not a dance critic, and I'm sorry I edited that so poorly because that was terrible. But as you can see right there, he's shooting the ball around, and then he's doing that the whole time. And then so again, pre-game, 3 days ago, he couldn't be bothered to play in a game, but he looks fine there. Again, I'm past 40, so I know what it's like, bro. Like, sometimes things flare up on you, and all of a sudden you're like, I can't play. So then this is LeBron during the game. Hang on, this is the Charlotte broadcaster, by the way.
He hasn't been very good. LeBron, look out below. Wow.
I mean, he looks okay there? I mean, let me just do it one more time.
Been very good.
I don't know, looks pretty good. I mean, the foot and the ankle look pretty good to me. He did LeBrick 2 shots at the end of the game, and Charlotte ended up winning. But that's just one little thing. But so Charlotte on a Wednesday in LA, not on national TV, but you're going to prioritize that over playing in the All-Star game? And like I said over the weekend, hey, LeBron, or hey, any of you guys, what is it going to take to play? What is it going to take to care? Like, you want 2 weeks off? You want us to take some sort of a fund together, and each of you get, I don't know, because again, money doesn't motivate these guys. Money doesn't like what's going on in the NHL with this. It's because they care. Like, just go watch. Even if you don't like hockey, like, they're doing this Worlds thing, and they care about their country, and they want to be seen as the best hockey nation in the world. It's a big deal to everybody, even the U.S. guys. Like, they care, and therefore, regardless if you like hockey or not, the buzz right now in sports, and I'm not showing it because a lot of people whatever. But they figured it out. Like, one league, the NHL has figured out the All-Star game, and it makes them care. And so everything else around it, I don't know how much defense they're playing. I don't know this, that, and the other. I just know this. They figured out a way for the NHL guys to care because they have pride in their country and want to be seen as we are the best. We're the best hockey nation. Guys in the NBA don't care about that. LeBron James is playing. It is so screwed up, and they haven't gotten it through to the highest profile player in the league who's supposed to be one of the best of all time. And that person is not business savvy enough to realize that an NBA All-Star game for fans and for advertisers, the two things that fund the league, that funnel your lifestyle, that have made you what you are, all the other stuff on the side and all the whatever other businesses you have going on, are all a direct result of the advertisers and the fans who have paid your salary for over 20 years. Total respect about your game. But are you not smart enough to realize that you've got to play in the All-Star game rather than 3 days later? No one cares about, by the way, you lost. No one cares about the Lakers and the Hornets on a Wednesday night. No one. Nobody. But you can't play in the All-Star game, but you're dancing around and dunking and doing all these different things and bricking 2 shots at the end of the game while Luka stands there. Oh, my God. It blows my mind. Like, how could you be so dumb? How could you not realize it? You've got to play. But yeah, the leadership at the NBA level is like, it's cool. Like, is anything going to come of this? I thought there was a rule. I could be 100% wrong. But wasn't there a rule like if you missed the All-Star game, you had to miss X amount of games? I mean, that's first of all what they've got to do. Like, you can't play in the All-Star game. You're out the first 5 games of the after the All-Star game. Then you miss 5 games and 5 checks. 5 games, 5 checks. That's what you miss. So your choice. You got to play in the game. You got to act like you care about the game. You got to act like you care about the advertisers. You got to act like you care about the fans. You got to act like you're going to maybe play hard. Because even if he did play, so I'm saying, can you just jog up and down the floor for 5 minutes for the fans and the advertisers, please? Can you at least get your uniform on so when we take the pictures years from now, they see this and you're not in some backwards hat and some jeans? Like, my God, all you got to do is care. No, I take it back. All you got to do is act like you care. Just fool us. You're not in front of the cameras that long. Just, the media sessions, you love it. The NBA, this is a great idea. I mean, that's what Steph did. The ultimate CEO, Steph Curry. And believe me, it was in his hometown. So it was, and he helped to put all this thing together. And so the whole weekend, Steph's like, this is great. We're trying and this, and he's playing company line, even if he doesn't believe it, the thing we all have to do. LeBron's like, nah, man, I'm sorry, man. I can't even get this uniform on. My ankle hurts so bad. But 3 days later, he's playing against Charlotte, not on national TV. If I'm the commissioner, it blows my mind. If I'm an advertiser, I'm going to Adam Silver, and I threw a bunch of money at the All-Star weekend, and I went, bro, I want a refund. Like, this dude's dunking and jumping around and dancing on the court 3 days later. Nah. And he's the highest profile player, and everybody takes their cue from him. And unfortunately, they don't take it from Steph, who everyone should. And looking at Steph going, okay, I get it. I know how to grow the sport. I know how to play the game. I understand how business works. I can't not play in the All-Star game on Sunday and play in a nondescript game against the Hornets, not on national TV on Wednesday. Like, the league is got to be just like, dude, okay, king. And I don't want to be get off my lawn guy, but it's like players in the past, they just wouldn't do that. First of all, they wouldn't even have to fake like they cared because they actually cared and they actually played hard. And I don't really care as much about the defense and it turning into the Harlem Globetrotters and all that kind of stuff. We don't need to tread back onto that ground. All I'm simply saying is if the best player and the perceived best player by some in the history of the game, and this is why he's not, can go ahead and not play on a Sunday and an hour and a half pull out. So, by the way, somebody more deserving who actually wanted to play, like a Norman Powell, who would have been scratching, clawing, he's having the season of his life and would die to play in the All-Star game, and LeBron casually an hour and a half before says, yeah, my foot and ankle hurt, and then goes out and dances and dunks and does what he does against Charlotte. You just, come on. Okay, done. I don't want to rant and rave about LeBron all the time. It's just that kind of stuff. It just means the league won't step up to a guy like that. Like, they're just afraid of him. And to me, it's like, if I'm the NBA, I'm making a big deal of this. I'm going to the Lakers. I'm going to LeBron. I'm finding LeBron. I'm setting new rules. You miss the All-Star game, you miss the next 5. It's just the way it's going to go. And you're going to miss the money from the 5. Both. Like, step up. Stand up. Do you want people to care? God, I'm racking my brain. How can we make it so that people care about the All-Star game? I don't know. Nobody cares in the dunk. Why should I? Nobody cares in the 3-point. Why should I? Nobody cares about the game. I'm a fan. Why should I? And if I'm an advertiser, that's the thing, is they don't really care. Unfortunately, I hate to be the bearer of bad news. They don't care about us. They don't. They care about the advertising dollars. That's when things change. Things change when advertisers pull out. So if I was an advertiser, if I was a major corporate advertiser, and they come to me every single year and they say, this is going to be great. This is what you're going to get. You're going to get this and this and this and this and this. And look at all these platforms we have now. And blah, 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 blah. And they're selling all this stuff. And my simple question is, do they care about the All-Star game? Do they care about any of these games during the season? Who's going to be sitting out on those games that I advertise on? What about the All-Star game? Is LeBron going to play, or is he going to pull out 90 minutes before the game and not bother to put on a uniform, and then 3 days later play in some nondescript game that I don't care about in LA against Charlotte? Like that's the game he prioritized over the All-Star game? And the NBA is not just up in arms, and advertisers aren't? And as fans, whatever. I was going to watch LeBron and Charlotte. I really don't care. But the fact that 3 days later he's dancing around, jumping, dunking, being normal LeBron, when he tells me that his foot hurts too much to actually, again, they don't care about the game. So LeBron can't even put on a uniform, jog up and down the floor for about 5 minutes, pull himself out of the game and say, at least I played. All right, man. Wonder what's wrong with the game. How can we fix it? Oh man, I don't know. How can we fix it? Let's think about it. Let's put our brains together. Look what the NHL is doing. They're crushing the All-Star game. Why? They care. It's as simple as that. They care. Oh man, crazy. LBJ, play 4 minutes and wrap your ankle and sit. All good. Hey, Bill M, I could not agree with you more. That's all you got to do. And the fact that the NBA, thank you, Bill, and thank you for the donation. All the NBA would have to do, and the fact that the NBA would have to go to LeBron James, who claims that he loves the sport and all those kind of things. Like, couldn't you act like you supposedly are one of the best players of all time? You have all this respect for the NBA. You're going to supposedly own a team in Vegas someday. Like you're LeBron James, right? The overseer of the NBA for the foreseeable future, maybe until next year. You're the guy. You've been the guy for 20 years this game. We've given it to you. You're the leader. Nah, I can't play in the All-Star game. Like, that's not what leaders do, dude. Like 3 days ago, you're like, oh, my ankle, my foot. I can't move. I mean, it was probably a hangover. I mean, I don't know what people said if they saw him Saturday night partying or whatever. But, I mean, you made it onto the plane. That really, we're not even asking that much more effort than actually walking onto the private plane that got you here to the Bay Area. Whew. I'm not a negative person. All right, that is LeBron James' foot okay dunk. We played that last night for a guy who could not play in the All-Star game, would be bothered to play in the All-Star game. This guy's going crazy, by the way. Wow. Why did I just get the end of that? Here we go. Come on, LeBron, dunk hard.
He hasn't been very good.
Foot looks good.
LeBron, look out!
Yeah, look out. Foot looks good to me. I'm no doctor. Believe me. You know me. If you watch the show on any regularity or listen to it. I am clearly not a doctor, but man, that foot, that's miraculous. It's a miracle. 3 days ago, oh, I can't play. I'm an advertiser, man. I'm like, dude, that makes me look stupid. Whoever the major advertisers are in the NBA, soft drink brands, Sprite, Starry, any beers, whatever. Right now, I'm the president of that thing going, whatever I gave you, whatever portion of what I gave you for the season, because it's not a la carte, all the All-Star game, the NBA finals, and all games on Thursday night. Like it's not an a la carte thing. You buy a whole package. Well, whatever that percentage is for the All-Star game, I want a refund because the dude played 3 days later, man. Oh, Gary Radnich reference. Very nice, AJ. Nobody cares. There it is. There's Gary Radnich. I know they've tried to get Gary on Larry's tried to get Gary on, and let's see how they came and played the home run derby. I think it's better than the NBA. Like I said, I just think, and I could be wrong, but we're just asking as fans to act like you care. We're not asking a lot. We're easy. We want to like you. We get into stuff all the time on the show where it's like we want to like the players. We do. We're not on this other side being cynical and angry and mad. We want to like you. Just play hard. That's all. I mean, that can't be difficult, can it? Especially that kind of money. Like, I know it always comes back to money, and that really shouldn't matter, but you should just want to compete. And for some weird reason, and I know this is going to go into kind of before we get to Warriors sprint, we're just at the beginning of episode 67, about 34 minutes into it. But this thing about LeBron really, it just last night I watched that and I was like, you got to be kidding me. Like, you got to be kidding me how little you care. They don't even try to hide it. Like, he's not even trying to hide it. Like, yeah, my foot's hurting. I don't even know if they asked him after the game, like, wow, that's a miracle. Who's your doctor? Because I need to see that doctor too. Like, your foot looks awesome, but you couldn't play 3 days ago in one of the highest profile things that the NBA has to offer. But all of a sudden, dude, man, that's a miracle. So I don't want to get negative and I don't want to get angry. And as fans, we are kind of pre-programmed to like the players and not the management, like upper management, GMs, owners, but players, we love the players. In fact, I get into this all the time where, I criticize a certain player, everything, and people get really mad. We talk about refs all the time. Well, it's got to be on the refs. It can't be on my favorite player. It's got to be on the GM. It can't be my favorite player. It's got to be the owner, not my favorite player. Like, I got his jersey. I like that guy. So I don't want to sit here and be negative about it, but it's in maybe leadership is overrated, but they've got to get guys into the league that care. Because like right now in the NHL in this All-Star game in the format that they have, like if you go out there and you lollygag, what are you, a bunch of lollygaggers? If you don't play hard, you're going to stand out. Where right now in the NBA, if you play hard, then you stand out. Like you play hard, you stand out. That's not the way it should be. And LeBron James should be the leader of that, like Kobe Bryant was, like Larry Bird was, like Magic Johnson was, like Isaiah Thomas was. Like all these guys were like, what are you, not playing hard? What is wrong with you? So people go, God, how come the All-Star game was popular before? Yeah, there's different platforms, different things. The ratings were down, I think, another 5% this year is what it was. But then you have guys who are high profile. And again, I said this about Draymond yesterday. He's off to a Kendrick Perkins career in the media because everything 0 out of 10 is what the All-Star game is. Okay, thanks. That's great. The NBA's got to love that. Tell the truth, but it's not a 0 out of 10. Everything's extreme for him. The NBA sucks, he said. The All-Star game was 0 out of 10. We're winning a championship. All those things. There's no like middle ground with Draymond, and that's fine. That's cool. Everybody likes that. But reality is just he's trying to be Kendrick Perkins. Charles Barkley is likable. Charles Barkley is funny. I mean, he says stuff, like I said, about the city that pisses me off, but I get it with Charles. He's funny. You'd want to go have a beer with Charles. I wouldn't want to go have a beer with Draymond. He's just a negative dude, and he's just, he's off to this kind of start where just like Kendrick Perkins, and that's not a compliment. They're far different people. Kendrick Perkins is a joke. Charles Barkley is one of the best sports personalities in the history of sports. He just is, and Draymond's not on that track. Draymond's on the track of, okay, you're going to join ESPN and you're going to be on with Screamin' A, and it's going to be hot take, or you're going to be on with Skip. That show's dead, but still, you're going to be on one of those hot take shows, and you're going to say this and say that and be extreme and all this kind of stuff, and you're going to be on the car wash, and you're going to be on every NBA show and everything, and you're just going to say crazy and wild things. Charles Barkley's funny and likable. There's a big difference there. So anyway, so you have these high-profile players in LeBron James not playing and not caring, and the other players, younger players coming up, watch that and think that's the way it's going to be. So for the foreseeable future, because LeBron doesn't care, other guys think it's cool not to care. And then somebody who calls themselves a leader in Draymond Green is not smart enough in his own hometown, which I know he's from Michigan, but in his adopted hometown in the NBA. And when Steph Curry puts everything together and say, hey, you know what, at least they tried, or just give him something. So the talking mouth says that the NBA sucks and the format sucks and the highest profile player can't even play. Well, what does that tell you about the All-Star weekend? And Steph doesn't shoot in the three and nobody dunks in the dunk. And we're supposed to consume it as fans. Woohoo, can't wait. Macma what? Hero won the three-point contest. The skills competition was won by, I think, the Cavs. And LeBron couldn't play in the game and run up and down the floor for 5 minutes. And they're like, why are the ratings down? Well, how do we fix it? Oh my God, really? Are you guys businessmen of any kind of ilk? Care? I don't know. What the NHL cares. Hi, Skills. 219 Dream. Today's the 20th, right? Ronald Acuna Jr. and Sybil Shepherd's daughter got into an on-field fist fight, sharing this for no reason. Dude, you're like me when I go onto the randoms. I can't wait. And thank you for $5.71. That's a nice random number. And our prayers are out to you, my friend, and your daughter, Josie, which is tomorrow. So you had a dream. How wild is that? Now, for the younger demographic, Sybil Shepherd, best known for Moonlighting, the show Moonlighting with Bruce Willis. Sybil Shepherd, I think she might have done a couple of movies, something like that, but she was in her day, big time sex symbol, was in was on Moonlighting. She was like the boss or something, I remember. Maybe Tuesdays on ABC that was on, but Sybil Shepherd. That's just I never thought we'd have a Sybil Shepherd reference today. So Ronald Acuna, Sybil Shepherd's daughter, got into an on-field fist fight. Sharing this for no reason. You can share whatever you want. You're the best. Prayers up. Wow, that's a wild one. I did not see a Sybil Shepherd reference coming today in any way, shape, or form, man. Let's see here. Mandatory all-star talk, seriously. Or moratorium, sorry, you said mandatory. Okay, fair enough. See, there you go. All you got to do. It's almost like, dueling pianos. You ever go into a dueling piano bar, which is a lot of fun? There's one in the New York, in Vegas that's a lot of fun. And what you do is, like, there's a song playing, right? And you either put money up for a song or you put money up to quit the song. And so Daniel's saying $2 moratorium on all-star talk. That's fair enough. My point is really not to go on to all-star talk and not to be negative. It's just, I don't know if you were like me. I'm watching that game last night and I'm like, this dude couldn't be bothered to play in the all-star game 3 days ago. This is crazy. So that's all. And he's supposed to be a leader and he's supposed to be seen as one of the best and he's the king and this, that, and the other. And it's like, like I often talk about Steph Curry, then we'll move on. Steph Curry just gets it. It goes beyond basketball. As a person, you can be great in business and you can be, all these different things, but Steph Curry nails just about everything. Not shooting in the 3-point all-star game was an issue, but he's got about a million things he was doing this weekend. So I get it. He would normally do it, but he does just about everything right. And that is so hard to do. He's smart. He says the right things. He represents your brand. He's one of the best of all time. I can't wait to watch the Netflix documentary. You heard what Kevin Durant said about him. Like, I just hope in the future nothing ever happens because we don't really know these guys. But as much as we know about Steph Curry, and he's pretty much an open book for a lot of this stuff, he's just incredible. He just does everything right. He says the right thing. He understands the big picture in the NBA. When Steve Kerr the other day, and I think I played it for you maybe 48 hours ago, and he made the shot, and the documentary's coming out and all that kind of stuff. And Steve Kerr, amongst his cursing, by the way, very big potty mouth, said about Steph Curry, "You're the finest human being I've ever known." And that's not like hyperbole. That's not go over the top. That's nothing like that. It's just Steve Kerr. Like, you've got to, if you see him on a daily basis and you just go, my God, what does he not do well? Right? He hosts the ESPYs. He's a good golfer. He's a great family man. He donates to great causes. He's right now, along with, guys like Peyton Manning, he's the best pitch guy you could possibly have. And oh, by the way, he's an amazing basketball player that completely revolutionized the sport, whether you like it or not. He changed it. He completely changed it. And that's something LeBron can never say that he did. He's a great player, and LeBron got these physical skills, but Steph Curry, for the foreseeable future, has changed the game. And you just don't get guys to do that. So he's just done so many great things, and you just look at it and you go, this guy gets it, because he's trying to grow the game, and they're trying to grow the game globally, and they're trying to grow the pie and all these kind of things. And if you come to me as an advertiser, last thing, if you come to me as an advertiser and you say, we want you to advertise with the NBA, and I say, well, is anybody going to care? What games are these guys going to play? How many games are they going to play? Are they going to care until it gets to the playoffs? Because that's when we care. We care as American sports heroes when it's time to get to the playoffs. We want to fast forward past everything. We want to fast forward past the regular season. We want to fast forward past the All-Star game. We only want to do the things we want to do. We only want to care about the things we want to care about. And the rest of the world sees it differently from a sports perspective. We're seeing it in hockey. We see it with the Ryder Cup in golf. It's not the most money, but they have a pride in their country winning. And I don't know what it is. And it blows my mind. We wanted to win that gold, not because we have so much pride in our country. We didn't want to be embarrassed. And that's where really a lot of this emanates from, is that the reason why guys don't want to dunk against Max McClung is they don't want to lose and be embarrassed. The guys next week, and this drives me crazy too, and this starts from the end of the career like LeBron's going to the beginning of the career at the combine, where like Shedeur Sanders won't throw, Cam Ward won't throw. Their agents will tell them, nah, certain guys won't run the 40. Lamar Jackson never ran a 40. And I would think to myself, just logic tells you this. And again, this is an old school mentality. If I'm the best, I'm going to compete. This is how I got where I am, is I've competed my whole life and I've shown that I'm the best. And now an agent is telling me, don't run the 40. Don't damage your stock. Don't run the 40. Don't throw at the combine. Don't do this. Don't do that. The only thing quarterbacks do nowadays in the draft process publicly, they'll weigh in. They'll do those kind of things. They'll do the interviews, but then they want their own day. And remember, those guys are running at the quarterbacks with like broomsticks and things like that. And they have a guy like Jordan Palmer, whomever the quarterback guru guy is, and they set up their hour. These are the throws you're going to make. This is everybody knows the receivers. It's not some random receivers you're throwing to at the combine. We don't know the timing. We don't know this guy. It's going to look bad. Those throws look bad. He's going to damage himself. And then there's guys who are like, I'm going to bench press. I'm going to throw. I'm going to run. I'm going to do all these things because I'm a competitor. So really where it's starting from is the bowl games guys opt out of because they might get hurt. All these different things start really at the beginning. Yeah, I don't care about this. I care about that. Whereas the rest of the world is like, I want to play and I want to compete and I want to show I'm the best. That's what the NHL is doing right now. I want to compete and show you I'm the best. I've always been the best. I'm a world-class athlete. And then the American way is, let's not work out. Let's not show anybody anything. Let's make sure we get drafted and get our millions of dollars before exposing something. And then at the end of our career, let's not play very hard because that's not cool. All right, there you go. That is, that's a long 46 minutes on LeBron, but okay, dunk. Let's get to Warriors sprint. Am I missing anything there? Let's get to Warriors sprint. The only reason I'm bringing up Warriors sprint, and we got a ton of stuff to do today. I do have, I believe, the standings right now, which are interesting because, and I'm not against, I said this yesterday, I'm not against Draymond saying that they're going to win the championship. I think a player should believe that. And that's his passion. He doesn't have passion for the All-Star game, but he has passion for winning a championship. And he says that, yeah, we're going to win a championship. Let me see. I think I have the standings here, NBA standings. There they are right there. So they're the NBA standings right now. Oklahoma City, Memphis, Denver, Houston, LA, Clippers, Minnesota. I don't know how they're doing it, but they're hanging around. The Mavericks, who not only they trade Luka, but then Anthony Davis is out. The Kings, whom that is the first opponent for the Warriors. Then all the way down in 10th place of the Warriors, Kevin Durant's Suns. I wanted to see how it was going to turn out here. I can tell you right now how it's going to turn out, but okay. You didn't want to come here because you didn't want to move in the middle of the season, but there are the Suns, there are the Spurs. The Spurs have some upside as they're trying to get De'Aaron Fox acclimated to what they're doing, and then the Blazers, Jazz, and Pelicans are playing for draft position. So it's crazy to look at that and say that Draymond Green is saying things about a championship or anything, but if you look at just the loss column is the thing that matters to me. So can you get to 6 where the Clippers are? I think you can. The Lakers, they're going to take a minute. I don't know if you watched any of that game last night, but the thing that, I'll take this off the screen now, you get the sense of where the Warriors are and what they have ahead of them, as they are, 27 games away from the final. So it's a 27-game sprint to now, and they're sitting in 10th place, and they need to get to 6 because, as I told you, if it stays as it is right now, they've got to win 2. They got to win 2 to get to the playoffs, which I think is just very difficult. And I don't think the Kings, Mavericks, or Timberwolves are all that good. But in a 1-game playoff, you just don't know. And if, say, the Suns move in there, then you're going to go up against Durant at some point. He gets hot. If the Spurs get in there, Wemby and that crew, that's not going to be a fun game. So in a 1-game series, it just comes down to matchup, and who the hell knows what's going to happen. So they got to get up to the 6 seed there. As far as the Lakers, who are a team, they're 32-21. That's a pretty good record. And they were starting to roll right before the break. And I was very outspoken in terms of, I think Dallas is crazy. And long term, I think they're crazy. But in just watching a couple of games, and everyone's like, oh, look at Luka's shooting. And Luka, and then it's like, dude, he's going to be fine. He's got a track record. Relax. Like, I think he's shooting 36%, averaging 14 a game, and everyone's freaking out. It's laughable. But one thing that I think is absolutely an issue with them, and that is, we've talked about it, is the whole one ball theory. Because in watching the game last night, Luka just stands around, and LeBron's ball dominant, and Luka becomes like a off ball shooter, and that's not Luka. So long term, I do think that, and long term, I mean in terms of next year, I think LeBron's going to get traded in the offseason. I think that his ego won't be able to handle it. Luka's a dominant ball handler, and he gets other guys involved, and it gets him involved. And in watching the game last night, I'm watching Luka just hang out and watch the game. And then on the other side of the court, obviously he's a liability defensively. LaMelo Ball went at him all night long. There's a cool video out on the web right now of him just basically just doing a quick crossover, a couple of moves left, right, and then he kicks it down to Mark Williams, the guy that was rejected by the Lakers in that trade, and he gets a dunk. They ended up winning. LeBron tried a couple of late Steph Curry style three-pointers, and you either have that or you don't. And I saw a number that LeBron James in the final 5 minutes of a game with the Lakers is like one of his last 28 in a close game in the last 5 minutes, or not last 5 minutes, last 2 minutes. It's the last 2 minutes. He's like 1 for 28. LeBron's not a great shooter as it is. I mean, he scored a ton of points. He is what he is. I'm not knocking his game. It's just that he's not that, shooter at the last second that's going to hit the 25, 28, 30-foot shot. But that's what he took twice and lost the game last night. But so that's what's going on as far as that goes. Warriors sprint is where I am on that. So we're going to get away from the NBA. So let me make sure there are no more NBA thoughts, because I'm going to move into the 49ers, and I'm going to do something that I told you I was going to do yesterday and didn't get to. So we're going to have a little bit of fun here with the NFL. So let me just double check to make sure that we are done with NBA talk, because I've been kind of like a dueling piano told, like, that's enough. That's enough. Stop it. I love comments like this. Luka looks sickly in a yellow jersey. He does. Dude's got to get some sun. Like, dude, I don't know where you're renting. Probably Manhattan Beach or somewhere in that area. That's where everybody goes. That's where my family's from. You see guys walking around there all the time. Like, my grandparents' neighbor is Gary Vitti, the former trainer of the Lakers. We were doing an estate sale there last year, and I'm hanging out, and it's not like I'm selling anything, but my grandparents had this great art, and they used to go to Mexico and get it and everything. And anyway, they were selling tons of stuff. And I look over, and he's like really good friends with him. And I'm like, no way. And we started telling Lakers stories, and all. It was awesome. We just sat there for an hour drinking coffee in the morning while everybody else looked at stuff. And he just told me old Kobe stories and Shaq's. It was awesome. But I mean, that's where everybody lives. And so we're doing this Luka tangent. But yeah, you got to get out in the sun. I mean, I don't even care if you got to go to a tanning booth or something, Luka. Like, as a Laker, a very pale, like, that yellow is not working for you, dude. You got to get a tan or something. It's just not working at all. And I know appearances are not show fodder, but you brought it up, so I just thought I would just make a comment on it. You could not be more. You could not be more correct. He looks that's not a good look for him. And a lot of people can't pull off yellow. Can we be honest? I don't think I have anything in my closet that's yellow. I'm more of like, blacks, grays, things like that, darker colors, things that, because I can get washed out too. Like, if I put on a yellow Lakers jersey right now, completely washed out. We can't do it. No chance. No way. Cannot. All right. Let's do NFL free agents. Let's do NFL free agents, the Los Angeles Lucas. Let's do NFL free agents who fit. So in order to do that, I'm going to share my screen with you and make sure, again, that I'm not sharing something that I'm unauthorized to share. But here we go. Right here. I put this back. Let's share that with you, and let's talk about it. All right. So there are, what did this thing do? Screw up on me? Close that. Legal tampering period, blah, blah, blah. Oh, look at this. All these ads pop up. That's nice. All right. So this isn't ideal. This isn't what it looked like. In fact, let me see if I can do this. Let me see if I can redo this. Okay, there we go. That's better. That fixes it, because it was playing off to the side. You got these ads running. Don't want that. All right, so let me just I don't want to go through all 101, because we're going to be here all day long if we do all 101. But there are just some key free agents that I think are worth talking about. T. Higgins isn't coming here, so let's move on. By the way, the fact that T. Higgins is the number one free agent tells you this is not a good free agent class. And let's back up for a second, because you and I talk about this all the time, show philosophy. A guy wouldn't be, by and large, a guy would not be a free agent if he was a perfect, like, that. You go to the draft, there's possible perfect prospects in there. But in free agency, there's a reason why somebody is a free agent. So, for example, did this just reset on me? This is why I don't do websites on the show, because I usually they all get screwy. So T. Higgins is not perfect. They're not going to go after T. Higgins. I know that Brandon Ayuk is hurt, but let's just move on. Trey Smith is going to cost too much. Holland too much. Sweat too much. Ward is not going to be a 49er. Bond is going to go back to the Eagles. Mooring is a guy that I like. But let me stop at 9 for a second here. Darnold, not because he's coming to the Niners, but I just think this is a really fascinating thing. You see there, average salary was $10 million. This thing is going to keep resetting on me, isn't it? We're not going to be able to do this. So Sam Darnold's going to make $10 million this next year. Did make it the next year. Just watching his contract is going to be one of the most fascinating things. Who's going to give him a ton of money? Because you got to have a quarterback. You overpay for the quarterbacks. Raiders are being talked about. And for some weird reason, people are talking about trading Matthew Stafford and Darnold, who went to SC and is from Southern California, possibly going to the Rams. I would take that trade as a 49er. Okay, we start with DJ Reed at 11. Jets uniform, former Niner, drafted by the Niners. Robert Saleh knows him. Now, on the surface, does it look like the 49ers need DJ Reed? Not so much, but a third corner would be something that the Niners could use, and a veteran in that secondary. There's my guy, Drew Dalman. He's kind of my free agency crush. Look at the number he made right there. Made $1 million in 2024. So could Dalman, is he going to cash in at 27 just big time? Because if he is, then the Niners won't be able to afford him. But I really like Drew Dalman, Stanford guy. Dad played for the Niners. Greenlaw is interesting. I keep hearing that he's not going to play ball and doesn't want to just do a 1 year make good, even though he played in 34 snaps last year. That's it. $8.2 million, wants to be paid more than that. I don't think he's going to be. Hufanga is, I think, gone unless the number comes down, but Hufanga is going to get paid a lot of money. I don't want to go over Murphy, Bynum. Milton Williams would be great of the Eagles. He is the typical overpay. Like, you look at that right away and you say, oh, my God, he would be awesome, and I'd love him, and the Niners need D-line help. He screams Hargrave to me. Like, I don't want anything to do with Milton Williams. I think that he's going to be overpaid and overrated. Got to reset again. Boy, this is starting to piss me off. We may not be able to do this much longer because I keep having to reset and the thing gets all screwy. And then I have to flash through this stuff and it makes you dizzy like it makes me dizzy. Let me see how much longer. I'm going to do this one more time and see if I can do this. If not, we'll move on to some other stuff. But okay, Hufanga and blah, blah, blah. We're not going to go through every single guy. I'm just going to go through guys that we like. Asante Samuel Jr. is somebody that everybody's been talking about. Again, veteran corner, 26 years old, would not hate. Khalil Mack, and we're going to get more into edge guys in a minute. Mack is 34, but he plays in all the games. We're going to talk about that. This is a guy that from the Colts, and I'm not overly aware, but a 27-year-old guard, he's probably going to get overpaid. Guards do in free agency, but that would be not a bad one, although there's some guards in the draft. Cooper, no thanks. I know that they need a temporary wide receiver. Not a fan. All right, it just reset on me again. So I'm going to go down this left side. No, I'm not, because there's an advertisement in front of it. Jesus, this is brutal. All right, I'm going to stop sharing that because having to reset that and everything is mind-numbing for me. So let me just say this about NFL free agency. There's a couple of guys that you know that I really, really like. Free agency, as far as the 49ers are concerned, this is what's great about the cap. And let me bring this up. The cap yesterday, if you didn't hear about it, late in the show we did this, but the cap yesterday went up, is going to go up for next year, $25 million. So that makes the next 2 years. So the previous 2 years to what next year will be, the cap will have gone up $53 million. And the 49ers carried over $50 million from last year, which was, they knew they had to do that with Brock's deal coming up. So what this means for the 49ers is really, really simple. They're going to get Brock done. That's not an if. It's just a when. They're getting Brock done. So they're going to be able to do that. We know that the number is not going to be astronomical, at least at first. Maybe it jumps from $1 million this year to the first year, $15, $18 million. It's significant, but given the fact that the $25 million jump for the cap, that's pretty big. So who else do you want? You want Greenlaw? I hear that he won't play ball on a 1-year deal. We'll see. Hufanga, I think, is going to be too expensive. So where does that leave you? What's the priority beyond Brock? George Kittle's got a big number coming up. They're going to redo that deal. Matt Mayoko wrote a piece today that I would advise you to go check out. Fred Warner's cap number for this year's $29 million. It's not going to happen. As good as Fred is, that's not going to happen. So they're going to renegotiate Fred's deal, move it around, whatever they're going to do. I think they're going to extend George Kittle and also draft the tight end because this is a really good tight end draft. They're going to do that. They're going to get Brock's deal done. So who else do you want? Dahlman could be done if it's not crazy. There's a couple of guards that I was going to show you, Tevin Jenkins being one, James Daniels being another. Daniels for Pittsburgh is coming off an Achilles. That would bring his number down. Jenkins is injury prone. That would bring his number down. And I know we hate talking about injuries, but either one of those two guys would be a major upgrade. And then center's got to be an upgrade as well. Is Dahlman just going to get way too much attention? Because one of the things that happens every single year in free agency is these teams with boatloads of money to throw around, the Raiders are one. The Patriots are another. They're bad teams who drafted but didn't develop and re-sign their own, so they got a ton of money, and they're just going to randomly just throw money. The Patriots are the main team. The Raiders are going to be one of those teams. And the problem with free agency is, as I've told you before, it's not only that these guys are imperfect. So are they injury prone? Is it a key position that you're going to overpay? Are they just good players you're paying great money to? All those kind of things. And the good teams especially don't overpay for like centers and guards. So as I told you yesterday, Damian Lewis was a guy that was in Seattle. He was okay. He was a pick out of LSU, was a 4th rounder. And Carolina just gave me a boatload of money, and he's just okay. And what that does is it damages your cap long term because you're overpaying for these guys. And you can go in the draft and get like Dominic Puni's in the 3rd round that you're not paying much. And then at some point he comes up for a contract and you're like, shit, am I going to pay him that? And you're not. So when I say that there are not a lot of guys that are perfect in free agency, it's it's either injuries or an overpay like it is for a center or a guard. They're just not that good, but they're being paid that kind of money, or they're injury prone, or they're older, or whatever the case may be, or you're desperate to fill a position and you just you throw that money in. So Dahlman to me is a perfect, if you just go back and look and what he does and all these kind of things and where his ranks are and all that. And his dad played at Stanford and he played at Stanford. His dad played for the Niners, I should say. It makes a heck of a lot of sense. And you and I often talk about, going home. I don't know if it's important for Drew Dahlman to come home. Who knows? But if somebody overpays for him, then yeah, the Niners aren't going to do that, because I'm going to show you my mockable mock draft just in a second here. But free agency, if the Niners are smart, and this is why I bring up the cap in conjunction with this, they can get Brock done. They can extend Kittle. They can redo Warner's deal. They can sign Greenlaw if they want. I think he's going to be too expensive. I don't think they're going to sign Hufanga at all. And you got to factor in that they're going to release Debo, it looks like now, and they're going to have to eat some money on that, make him a post-June 1 guy. No, we don't want to get too deep into numbers, but they're going to eat some money. They're fine because of the increase. Now what they can do, and here Steve just popped something up that's 100% right. A trade for Myles Garrett if the Browns are willing, give them 11 and Debo. Nobody wants Debo. They're not going to want Debo. Debo's a net negative. But I like where you're going on Myles Garrett, and I'm going to do that in just a second. But they can fit in Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett, in looking at his contract, he's signed through 2026. Here's the interesting part about Myles Garrett that you can impress your friends with later on today, which I'm sure you will. When it comes to Myles Garrett, he's signed through 2026. But he has no more guaranteed money. Think Trent Williams. Okay, I'm this player and I'm really, really great. And yeah, you control everything. This is where we get into the agents and all these kind of things. I have no more guaranteed money. Not coming in. Trent Williams had no more guaranteed money. The Niners could say they were blue in the face. Hey, we're not cutting you, man. You're going to get the money. We just need you to show up. Don't care. It's a sign of respect. I want guaranteed money on my deal. But we already paid you all that money up front. That's the whole point. Now you have none left, but you got the money. Sorry. Need guaranteed money. So Myles Garrett is going to control where he goes, because even though he technically has 2 more years left on his deal, he has no more guaranteed money. So whatever team he's going to play for, it's kind of like the Brandon Ayuk situation. Brandon Ayuk was a free agent. I get it. That's different. But Ayuk could decide where he was going to go. So the Niners had to make a deal with the team, and Brandon Ayuk had to make a financial deal with the team, and both sides had to be okay with it. And it was really difficult to do. And Myles Garrett's the same way. So the Niners could go to the Browns and say to the Browns, hey, we'll give you 11. Detroit can't give you 11. Packers can't give you 11. Chiefs can't give you 11. Bills can't, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Any of these teams, the Commanders, all those teams are at the end of the first round. So they could satisfy the Browns at a really high level and say 11 for Myles Garrett, which I would do all day, every day. No problem. And I would give Myles Garrett, and because we're talking cap, the Niners could give Myles Garrett a deal, still get Brock Dunn, still eat Debo's money, still extend Kittle, still rework Warner. They could do all these things, still sign Drew Dahlman. Because of the increase in the cap, they could do all those things, and they could, like chess pieces, move it around. We backload this guy, front load this guy, all the things they'd have to do, they can do. But the question in Myles Garrett's mind is, okay, you've satisfied the Browns. You could satisfy me financially because I have no more guaranteed deal or money left on my deal. But do I think you can win? You're 6-11. And the 49ers then would have to say to Myles Garrett, that's a one-off. You got to believe us. That's a one-off. We're going to be fine. Look at what happened after 2020, Super Bowl 2020, 2021. We took off again. Same thing's going to happen. You got to believe that. And he's 30, so he doesn't have a window of like 8 years. He has a window of maybe 4 or 5. So that's why it gets complicated with Myles Garrett. From a financial standpoint, though, if you're asking yourself if they can do it, they can. Now it's a matter of satisfying the Browns. 11 should do it. And then it's asking Myles Garrett, do you think we can win? Myles, I think we can, and here's why. And I think that the Niners, we talk about this all the time, I think the Niners, unlike the Giants, get the benefit of the doubt. Hey, you know what? We've done it before, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I believe you. The Giants say to some prospective player that they want to give a bunch of money to, oh, no, are you guys going to win? Oh, yeah, we're going to win. When's the last time you won? Well, 2021, what else? 2016, we went to the playoffs, we won, you see those World Series in 10, 12, and 14? They'll go, you're not winning. You're not winning. Next, the Niners can convince somebody that they're going to win. Now, that leads us to something. Let me go to, because I'm going to do a mockable draft in just a second, so don't go anywhere. Jacob brings up a great point because this is something I was going to go into anyway. So Jacob says, rather have Max Crosby. So let me go back to, even though we're an hour into the show, and this I don't think is going to make us screw up sharing the screen. Never doing that again. My God, had to reset that thing 55 times. John Lund Unleashed. Yes. So go to John Lund Unleashed. I know I keep promoting this, but the blog is a solid piece that I wrote yesterday, and it's very simple. So let me go to the blog, and it says right there, it's the piece. Oh, those are the YouTube shows. Let me go to the blog. I had it. There it is. Getting Nick Bosa help. Odds it's one of these guys. And so I did it in order of likelihood. Oh, that's the other one. I did it in order of likelihood. The sharing of the websites today is not high quality. So Max Crosby, you can go back and read it. I put it 500-1. Mark Davis hates the Niners. I put Trey Hendrickson. Here's the thing that is interesting about Trey Hendrickson. Like Myles Garrett, Trey Hendrickson is under contract, but only for 1 more year, but he has no more guaranteed money. So what do you think Trey Hendrickson is going to do come training camp time? Hold out. And here's the thing about Henderson. You're like, he's not Myles Garrett. He's not Max Crosby. Okay. Over the last 5 seasons, and he's 31 and he's not slowing down, only TJ Watt with 73.5 sacks and Myles Garrett with 72 have more than Trey Hendrickson's 70.5. 70.5. So he's got an $18.6 million cap hit, but only $3 million is guaranteed, and he has no more guaranteed. It has $3 million in guaranteed money. I shouldn't say no more, but he's going to want more. So he's going to hold out for a contract, especially at age 31. Will the Bengals, this is where it gets interesting, people. I'm going to press you with this. Will the Bengals be able to sign T. Higgins? Probably not. Jamar Chase is asking for $40 million. Joe Burrow is already making a ton. Now, again, the cap doesn't just go up for the 49ers. It goes up for everybody. So maybe with this extra money, they can re-sign Trey Hendrickson. But the Bengals are seen as one of the cheapest teams in the league, and Hendrickson is 31. This guy opposite Bosa, he plays with his hair on fire. So I think that he's going to demand to be traded. He's going to want more guaranteed money at age 31 because as these guys get older, it's like, I have $3 million guaranteed. What if I get hurt? I'm going to get nothing. So Hendrickson's going to be a prime candidate to get traded based on the fact that he has very little guaranteed money left, and he's going to want a new deal. He would be cheaper than Myles Garrett, and he's almost as productive. And across from Bosa, he would be a terror. And nobody's talking about Trey Hendrickson. So that's huge. Khalil Mack, the positive is he's going to be 34 this season, but he's played in every game in 5 of the last 6 years. So he's getting older. He had the huge year last year with 17 sacks. He's still good, and he sets a great edge. and the Niners did try to get him. If he's cheaper, I could see Khalil Mack, but he is certainly, as far as getting after the quarterback, on the downside. It put him at 20-1. And then this is what everybody's buzzing about, Joey Bosa. And as I say here in the piece, Mama Cheryl, she responded to a Photoshop, and that's somebody did a Photoshop of Nick and Joey. And then Joey took a pay cut, you know this, to stay with the Chargers this offseason. But again, say it with me, no guaranteed money left on the deal. So he's going to be released by the Chargers. He's 29 years old. I mean, even though you think he might be might be older, but the problem with him is he's only played in 28 of his last 51 games, and the Niners hate that. Everybody hates it, but the Niners really hate it. And Joey Bosa, if for some people, he's going to give him a discount to play with Nick. No, he's not. Because at the age of 29, he needs one more big payday, maybe two, depending on how many years he does that. But he's 29, only played in 28 of his last 51, and he's not given a hometown discount. There's no hometown. He's not from here. But he's not given a discount to play with Nick. I just don't see it. I put that at 10-1, and it might even be longer than that, but he is going to be free, and there is going to be discussion about it. I just don't think he's going to come here and say, yeah, let me just play with Nick, whatever you guys can pay me. He's going to want big money, and he misses a lot of games, and that doesn't compute with the 49ers. And then finally, Myles Garrett, I put it 5-1, and it's for the very reasons that I just talked about. I think Myles Garrett could be convinced by the 49ers that, yeah, we can win. They can fit him in financially, and it's a trade. And the 49ers, if it's just Browns 49ers, which it's not, but if it were just Browns 49ers, they have the 11th overall pick in the draft. That's going to be the best offer I think that the Browns are going to get. But Myles Garrett has got to say okay. And this morning there was a piece, 𝐮𝐮 Hutchinson coming out and saying, man, I've talked to Myles Garrett. By the way, oh my God, that's tampering. Isn't that tampering? Everybody was talking about tampering. I get these emails tweets every day. Vlad Guerrero is not a free agent. And if they talk to him, that would be tampering. That never happens. So anyway, 𝐮𝐮 Hutchinson tampered and talked to Myles Garrett and said, wouldn't it be great to play together? But he's under contract. You can't do that. You say it out loud, it's laughable. I'm getting all these people on Twitter. Oh, he's tampering, Lund. He's under contract. Yeah, Myles Garrett's under contract too. And he's being tampered with all the time. Did you see Fred Warner at the Super Bowl tamper? Yeah, I'd love to have Myles Garrett. Tampering. 𝐮𝐮 Hutchinson saying it. Like they're talking, and it's not just players. It happens all the time. All right, tamper. That's what they do. There's a lot of heavy petting going on. So anyway, so you saw that, and maybe you'd want to go to Detroit. They don't have a great pick, but he would sign an extension there. He'd sign an extension, I think, in Washington. Think about that. Washington traded Chase Young, we know, and Montez Sweat. They need guys, and their leading sacker, Dante Fowler Jr., had 10.5 sacks. He's a free agent. He's 31. So that's a team that could win, could work out something, and the Browns would probably just we'd rather have the Niners number 11, but we're just going to have to take a later pick in the draft. That's just the way it's going to go. So that's going to be complicated. But if you can convince Myles Garrett that you can still win, and he's going to play opposite Nick Bosa, and that's sending Chris Kusarek to tamper, and Robert Saleh, who's well-respected, to go to him and say, hey, man, look at what we could become if you'll come here. And we'll give the Browns 11, and we're off and running. So I would do that of all of them, and I understand why you'd want Max Crosby and all these other things. And I know Max Crosby said all these really nice things about the Bay when he came for the All-Star game, which I thought everybody hated it. But Max Crosby sure liked it. And so everyone went, well, Max Crosby's coming back. Do you see all those nice things he said about the Bay? Yeah, there's one small problem. The guy with the Dutch boy haircut, he hates the 49ers and won't trade with the 49ers unless you give him like 4 first-round picks, and they're not. So it's cool, and the Photoshops are neat with Max Crosby next to Nick Bosa, and people, oh, that would be a terror. Look at this Photoshop I did. Ooh, cool. Mark Davis hates the Niners. So, sorry, but they do. You hate football talk? Oh, my God. Really? Football talk is awesome. Like the offseason, a lot of times, like the offseason, to be honest with the 49ers, a lot better than the regular season this year. Seriously, a lot better. And this is just what the league does. Let's see. Hold on a second. Outside of football season, this is just what the league does. Is they're so good at it. Like next week is the combine, and it's like I don't know if I'm going to get in trouble by YouTube to put clips up there, but There's going to be certain guys I like. In fact, do people hate the draft talk too? Because I got the sense, and this is why I did it. So 49ers cap, we did that. Nick and who, we did that. Mock is where I am. I traded for Miles, and then college is different. Hawaii picks. Damon Bruce at 11. Tom tomorrow. Random stuff that we're going to talk about as well. By the way, one thing I was thinking about this yesterday. Just make sure that when you're in the chat room, you got questions, comments, thoughts. I'll make sure that I get to them. But if I'm missing anything that you want to hit about, that's totally fine. I want to make sure that I do that. Yeah, I mean, it just the way it works, and David's right. I don't know how the NFL did it, the timing of it, the science of it, whatever the case may be, but the NFL does it better than anybody else. Oh, whoa, wait, stuff's waning. Let's go to Indianapolis, and a bunch of guys are going to run around in shorts, and the NFL Network's going to broadcast it, and it's going to get huge numbers. It does. It gets absolutely huge numbers. I don't know why. It just does. And then all of a sudden, it's free agency time. Right on cue. It's draft time, like real draft time. And then all of a sudden it's OTAs, and there's dead times. Believe me, after the draft, it's like there's this big thing. But every time, and we've said this before, you and I, every time I see a mock draft, I have to click on it. Sorry, I just can't help it. Like my hand's like, no, don't. Clicked on it. And then Daniel Jeremiah took Will Johnson with the 11th overall pick out of Michigan, which I don't mind. It's crazy, but I can't help it. It does. It just keeps rolling, man. It's hard to get around it. They're really good at it. All right, I'm going to do this under the premise. Let me make sure that I haven't missed anything. Oh, can I bring this up really, really quickly? And then I go back to the NFL. I hate jumping back and forth. I'm trying to not do that on the chalkboard anymore. But Kuminga, that's great news on Kuminga. Blah, 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 blah. I got them my email yesterday. Missed the last blah, blah, blah. He missed 21 games. I didn't even realize that with that sprained ankle. My God, man. 21. His return to game action be based on his continued progress. That's good. I mean, I don't know what that means in terms of date, but he's already missed 21 games. Crazy. All right. If you hate mock drafts, if you don't want me to do this, like I said, the show is kind of democratic. So if you hate this stuff, I don't have to do these things, but it's like I said, I click on mock drafts all the time. People tend to like it. I used to make fun of a guy. I did a morning show in Detroit for years and years and years. And the guy who did the show after me, his name is Mike Valeni. He's a very popular figure in Detroit. He would do mock drafts on his show. And people would call in, and with the third pick, the New York Giants select. And I was like, this is the worst stuff I've ever heard in my life, but people liked it. People tended to like it. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this a little bit, dip my toe in the water on this. And if you hate it or don't like it, then you let me know. You can do it now during the show. You can do it in the comment section after the show at John Lund Radio on X, and we're broadcasting live on X and Instagram. So you let me know. You don't have to be in the chat room. There's a number of different ways to hit me up. All the social media ways, johnlundunleashed.com. So I am not hard to find. And we've got a contact page on johnlundunleashed.com. You tell me. You like it. You hate it. The worst thing you can be is indifferent towards it. So you tell me if you're indifferent, all those kind of things. And if I get enough feedback one way or the other, either I keep doing it or I stop. All right? Because I'm not trying to claim to be Kruger here. But I did draft shows for the Niners for years, sat in that draft room right next to the draft room. I geek out on it. I think it's really cool and fun. But I don't know if there's a difference between something that I enjoy doing and spend my time on, but also bringing it to people. It doesn't mean it's consumable or people like it. Does that make sense? Like, I'm passionate about certain things. I'm not going to bring them on the air because I don't think they're good for the show. I don't think they're consumable. I don't think they're going to get ratings or clicks or any of those kind of things. So I'm careful in what I'm going to bring to the show. So here, without further ado, I think I did this in the right order. So this is Pro Football Focus, and what they allow you to do is you do a 7-round draft, and you can't just pick anybody. So I can't get with 7 picks in 7 rounds. I can't get the 7 best players. It's computer generated. So I'm doing the best I can. So you're going, I'd never take that guy. It's like, well, that's who was on the board. And I combine needs with, and we'll get closer and I'll know these guys better. But okay, so I was at 11. All right, here's how I'm going to explain this. I know you're going to think I'm a total dork. So I was sitting there at 11, and you can see who was picked beforehand. Will Campbell, who I would have liked, and the Texas DB, at which I like. He can play corner and safety. So anyway, we're at 11, right? And here's who's on the board. These are my choices. Ashton Genty, maybe a team's going to come up and trade for him. If he were there at 11, I'm not taking him back. Burden third, I don't absolutely love. I don't think they take a receiver that high. A lot of people love Tyler Warren and think to themselves, got to get a backup for Kittle. But, they want to win a championship now. They think they're in a Super Bowl window now. I like Tyler Warren, but I'm not taking a tight end there. I don't think he's Brock Bowers. Mike Green is a guy who's coming up boards. He's an edge guy. Will Johnson is a great corner from Michigan who Daniel Jeremiah gave the 49ers in his latest mock draft. These next two guys are my draft crushes. Kenneth Grant is like 340 pounds out of Michigan, but can move. Stop the run. Yes, please. And Walter Nolan is about a 295, 300-pound quick. He uses the quicks. He reminds me kind of like Byron Murphy, who the Seahawks took last year. I like him. I wouldn't mind him because they need defensive tackles. So that's what I had on my board. There's other guys, but generally speaking, that's who I had the choice of at number 11. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, what do I do at 11? What do I do? And the only reason I bring this up and want to show you this slide is because we get all excited about the 11th pick. It's so much more valuable before we use it or before we know who's on the draft. So, okay, they take Will Johnson or Kenneth Grant or Walter Nolan or whatever, or Mike Green's a really good edge guy. Okay, fine. But would you rather have, just for the sake of conversation, Mike Green, an edge guy from Marshall, or would you rather have Myles Garrett? So that kind of, to me, puts it into perspective is 11 is so valuable. Oh, 11, 11, 11. Okay, Myles Garrett, Tyler Warren. Myles Garrett, Kenneth Grant. Myles Garrett, Mike Green. Myles Garrett, whatever. Walter Nolan. Like, it's just a no-brainer. And one of those guys might be really, really good, but I tell you time and time again, as much fun as it is to do these mocks and all these kind of things, the first round of the NFL draft, the first round for second contracts is less than 50-50. So everybody gets really excited about the draft, and it's a lot of fun, and it's billion-dollar business. And NFL Network next week will do the Underwear Olympics, and we get excited, and who's my team going to pick? And the first round is 50-50 for a second contract, which is the way I look at as valuable. If you get to a second contract, you did great with a pick. If you didn't, like I like Mike McGlinchey, 9th overall pick, didn't get a second contract with the 49ers. That's a failed pick. It is. That's a failed pick because the teams who are on the first day of free agency spending all that money, why do they have all that money? Because they drafted, but they didn't develop and they didn't re-sign, which is what you're supposed to do. That's the formula to winning. Draft, develop, re-sign, continuity, win a bunch of championships. That's how you do it. You don't do it through free agency every single year. It's fool's gold. It's stupid. And you're overpaying centers, guards, injured guys, old guys, because you're desperate because you missed on picks. That's what free agency generally is. Doesn't mean you can't get a Drew Brees every now and then or whomever. You can hit it, but more times it's Javon Hargrave. It's like, why didn't Hargrave work? Because we were desperate because the 49ers let Buckner go or traded Buckner, drafted Kinlaw, failed with that, panicked. First day, minutes into free agency, we were on the air, Greg and I, Papa and I at the time, and we're like, I thought it was a fake account. Javon Hargrave to the Niners? The guy that tore him up in the playoffs? But he really didn't fit the system. He was injured. He was older. Limitations. All of a sudden, it was like, well, he didn't fit like he did in Philly, and you failed on a free agent hit that you spend a bunch of money on. That's free agency. So I like things, and I know that young players, and you can look stupid and everything as I go back to the options that I had on the board when I was doing my mock draft yesterday. And that's 50-50 to a second contract, any of those guys. Genty, you're not going to draft. Warren is probably, it's just, that's something you can't afford to do with all the needs. You need an edge guy. You need a corner, wouldn't be bad. And both those defensive tackles I really, really like. But it's 50-50 at best right there, 50-50. So you want to go 50-50 or you want to do that? So that was my mock draft. But if you look to the near the bottom, because what I did was I traded for Myles Garrett and pick 164 for 11th pick and Leonard Floyd. Now you might be saying to yourself, oh my God, you gave away Leonard Floyd. I don't want to pay Leonard Floyd. I don't want that money. And he's got one more year left on his deal. So I said, here, Cleveland, take Floyd, take 11. We'll take 164 and Myles Garrett. So you may hate that trade, but if you look at that draft, okay, Myles Garrett is your first round pick. 100% great. Future Hall of Famer. Opposite Nick Bosa. Going to cost you money. I get it. And part of the allure of the draft and of picking at 11 is maybe you get a great player and he's cheap for 4 years, which helps your cap. I'm not oblivious to that. I completely understand it. But if my draft there is Myles Garrett, first-round pick. Tyler Booker, going to be my starting left guard. This Walker kid is massive, like 340 pounds. We stick him in the middle of the defense. Kobe Bryant, yeah. He's a good corner. I got you a center, finally a tight end, another defensive lineman. Dart is a good quarterback prospect, and he can be your backup. If Gordon had come out last year, he would have been probably a top 2, like second, third round guy. And you need one. I think Mason might be leaving. He's a restricted free agent. McCaffrey, you got to watch. I like Guerrero, but he's a ways away. Walker's a really fast linebacker, like 220. Develop him. The only reason I took Johnny Walker Jr., he had 10 sacks last year. I know nothing about him, but his name's Johnny Walker. That's a bad way to draft. And then Krug really likes that linebacker. They give me a C+ on that guy. Aaron Smith out of South Carolina State. They need linebackers. Their linebacker depth isn't great. And he might be another one of those finds that they did with like a Dre Greenlaw, but I think they're going to sign the kid Sherwood for the Jets. So anyway, mock my mock. But at the beginning of that, remember, I traded 11 for Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett. And what did I do? Garrett, line of scrimmage guy, trenches. Booker, trenches. Walker, trenches. Wilson, the center, trenches. Evans can catch and trenches. D lineman, trenches. Like I went trench crazy. Trench crazy. And the only one I couldn't help was Johnny Walker Jr. because I like Johnny Walker. It's nice over ice. So that's what I did. All right. 3, 2, 1. Off the screen. Never to be seen of again. Go ahead. Mock my mock. But the real reason is not to so much go into all those players, was to say that's what the draft would look like for the 49ers if they drafted Myles Garrett. And you're thinking to yourself, no, Walter Nolan or Kenneth Grant or, Tyler Warren, and that's fine. Those guys might all be great. But I know Myles Garrett's going to be great. And I mean, supposedly the Niners think this. They're in a championship window. So can I take a chance and go 50-50 in the first round? And after that, it gets less. Every round is less. And that's what makes what the Niners have done over the years in the rounds after the first round that much more crazy. Is that's just an example of if you get Myles Garrett, you can still have a really great draft. Like it doesn't end, oh my God, we gave up 11. The worst part of that deal is you're paying Myles Garrett a bunch of money when if you could hit at number 11, you could be paying a guy not very much money. He could be great. But is he going to be Javon Kinlaw? Is he going to be, Javon Kinlaw? Javon. Is he going to be Javon Kinlaw? Oof. That's the chance you're taking. We really think you can replace our guy Buckner. All right. 50-50. Good luck. And the pick you traded, actually, because you went from 13 to 14 with Tampa, was Tristan Wirfs. Oh, see, that was the lottery ticket. There's your right tackle. That's the guy you should have drafted. Don't be locked in on it. We got to replace Buckner. Just take the best player. At least haven't been great in the first round, generally. Bosa nailed it. Ayuk pretty much nailed it. But other than that, in the first round, not good. All right. Give me your thoughts on that. And again, I'm not saying it because I am, all mocked in and locked in. I'm just saying, like, you can get Garrett and still have a really productive draft. And Garrett's a 100% guarantee great, not 50-50. And we love these lottery tickets that are draft picks, but man, I get nervous about that. So I'm going to go out. Before I get to this story, you cannot leave. If you're going to leave right now, you're like, I got to go. The college is different thing on the chalkboard. So this is episode 67. LeBron foot looks fine. Warriors sprint. NFL free agents who fit. Nick and who. That's up right now at JohnLundUnleashed.com. You can see the story and the video. Mock, I traded for Myles. And then college is different is coming up next. So hang on, because this college is different thing is going to blow your mind. All right, what did you think? Let's see. The good news is, here we go. I'll just go through some of these. Good news is we have draft flexibility with all those juicy picks. Great term, by the way. Juicy. Why is it that juicy is a fine term? Moist makes my skin crawl. Can anyone explain that? Like if somebody says something's juicy, like that steak is juicy, that's a juicy story. Like I like juicy. That's a great term. Juicy is a great term. But if somebody says that cake is moist, I go, ugh. Like moist is weird to me. Juicy is a great term. Moist is a creepy term. Am I wrong in that? Or am I overthinking that? That's the random part of the show. Juicy versus moist. All right. Is Trent Williams washed? I don't think Trent Williams is washed. I think that what Trent Williams did is at the end of the year made a business decision. This team's not very good. We're not going anywhere. I'm older. Why would I put wear and tear on my body? And I think that's a good business decision for him versus what George Kittle did and Fred Warner did. They said, we're leaders and we're going to lead this team for a long time. We're not stopping. We're not quitting. It's not a rip on Trent Williams whatsoever. I think Trent's 37, 38, something like that. Trent made a business decision. Like, he could have come back, but Trent Williams was like, this is dumb. We're not, I'm a left tackle. Why would I beat my body up just to show that I'm a leader? George Kittle decided to, Fred Warner decided to. They could have absolutely said, yeah, I'm out. Is Yuck my mock? Does that mean no more mocks? Because that's fine. Yeah, skills. Good to see you. Another Kobe Bryant. Yeah, there's Kobe Bryant, the safety from Seattle. There was a Kobe Bryant who was that was Lamar Jackson. There was a Lamar Jackson corner out of Nebraska. So Kobe Bryant safety for Seattle, and then Kobe Bryant corner Kansas, which the game that got me going on him was he played against Arizona State and a guy named Jordan Tyson, who's their receiver, and the kid was all over him. He was really physical. I liked him a lot. I sound like Krug here, man. I'm with you, Mike. I mean, I just wanted to show that if you traded for Garrett, you still got a lot of draft. And if you can convince him, and you got to give him a contract and all the things I talked about before. But, okay, how do we get to ribs? We always get to food. Ribs are an excellent choice. I need to, you know what? I haven't done ribs for a long time, but smoked ribs, you got to make sure you get, which one? The beef ribs, not the pork ribs. Pork, a lot of fat. Beef ribs, a lot of meat. Love ribs. Wouldn't say that that's a first date kind of a food, but I have not put ribs on the smoker in a long time. We do a lot of tri-tip, things like that. We'll do some brisket. We have not done ribs in a long time. Long time. All right. Never trade Buckner. No, I cannot agree with you. That whole thing has just caused such a S-storm, man. That whole thing, right? Ugh. Going back and looking at that's what I'm saying is like, hey, you might be able to get Myles Garrett if you give up 11, or you could take your chances. And maybe Kenneth Grant or Walter Nolan or Mike Green or any of these guys are going to turn out to be great players, but it's 50-50. So if we use logic, yeah, it's a lot of money, but the cap just got raised. Yeah, it's pick 11, and we love as fans. And I think the teams get into this too. We just, it's the unknown. God, I got to take a swing for the fences. And normally it doesn't work. The best player, the guy that you get the best player in the draft, in the trade, you win the trade 90% of the time. That's just how it is. A lot of you can get burned. There's no question. You can get burned. Damn, we should have taken, if Micah Parsons was taken at 12, and if you traded for Myles Garrett but you got Micah Parsons, then you got Parsons for cheaper and you got basically the same effect. So you're going to see those kind of things happen. No doubt. We shouldn't have done it. Micah Parsons was there. You got him. Or Jalen Carter was there. For every, and I'm just talking about that because Carter was, I think, pick 10. I think Parsons was pick 12. Like, there's going to be players in that range that are really good players. But are you going to pick the right one? Like I said, I always bring this up with the Niners, is they took Kinlaw. They were at 13. They traded back with Tampa in that draft for 14 when they got the Colts pick for Buckner. Tristan Wirfs was taken at 13 with the Niners pick. And then the Niners, a pick later, because they had to fill that position at defensive tackle, they took Kinlaw. Wirfs is an all-pro, left tackle. That would be really nice to have on deck. Hey, we got Wirfs at right tackle. We're waiting for Trent to go. And like last offseason, if you had taken Wirfs instead of Kinlaw, Trent Williams would have had no leverage. Hey, Trent, I'm sorry, I'm holding out. All right, well, we got a guy named Tristan Wirfs, and we're just going to move him from right tackle to left tackle, man. Adios. That's it. Then you save the money on Trent Williams. So if you get the right players, if you hit the right things, then don't trade for Myles Garrett. But they don't have a history of doing that. And the history of the NFL shows you 50-50 at best. And it goes down every pick that goes off the board. So I'm just trying to use like math here, which is not a strength of the show, not a strength of mine. But like, this is just kind of Vegas thoughts. Let's play the odds. The odds say Myles Garrett. Now, I know there's the finances. He's 30, all those kind of things. But where the 49ers are, they're not a rebuilding team. They look at themselves as a team that is in a Super Bowl window. Whether you believe that or not, they do. It just makes a lot of sense. But he would have to agree to it. This is not the old days where it's like, sorry, player's getting traded and that's where he's going. Myles Garrett has no more guaranteed money on his deal, and he's not coming unless he's got a new deal. So this has got to be Browns get what they want, Myles Garrett gets a new deal, and everybody's happy. Can the 49ers be that team, or is it going to be another team? Daniel brings up a good point. I put these guys up on when I wrote the piece at JohnLundUnleashed.com on who can help Bosa. Return of the Mac. He wasn't as good last year. The year before he had 17 sacks, but I know this, and the Niners love this if they could get him at a certain number. Even though he's 34, 5 of the last 6 seasons, Khalil Mack played in every single game. And if you've signed Mack, it doesn't cost you anything. He plays in the base downs. He moves to the inside on pass rush downs, and you bring in Leonard Floyd. And now it's Floyd, Mack, Bosa, and maybe one of the defensive tackles that you took. If you don't trade for Garrett, then maybe you take Walter Nolan or Kenneth Grant or something, and that's your 4 for a pass rush. That's pretty good as long as the draft pick comes through. So there's other things. There's other ways to get this thing done. What did you think? Anything? Anyone? Bueller. All right, let me get through. What time do we got? I got to be on Damon's show at 11 o'clock. Plenty of time. I just want to have a little bit of time in between. Hi, Francis. John, you love mocks. You're not stopping. Look, if people say, I'm being honest here. If people say we hate mocks and enough people say it, I'm not mocking anymore. I don't need to do it. The only reason I do it, and I might post one of these, maybe later today, I'll post this whole mock thing online and see what, because I can see the analytics of it and see if people click on it. I don't know why I do. Daniel Jeremiah has a mock, I click. Bucky Brooks has a mock, I click. ESPN does a mock, I click. Matt Miller does a mock, I click. You get the idea. I don't need to keep saying this with different names. But I'm not obsessed with them. I never do them. I never post them. But Pro Football Focus makes it really easy because it's a computerized thing, and you just can pick who you can pick. It's not like you just get all these great players. It's like, oh, damn, that guy took that guy. That's the way it goes. Yeah, Kinlaw looked the part. Look, man, if you had to draw up what a great defensive tackle would look like, it would be him. Like when you walked into the locker room and you saw him, I remember seeing him for the first time. I thought, this guy is a monster. He's going to be awesome. He was big. I mean, there's a difference between how big he was and like you see certain guys and they just don't look that big. Now, again, you look at NBA players and it's just they won the genetic lottery. It's a totally different deal. I remember when I was early in covering NBA teams, I was a beat guy for the Portland Trailblazers, and Shaq came in with the Lakers, and the way that the old Rose Garden, whatever it's called down, Moda Center, I think, is designed is that the opposing locker room, the easiest way to the court, a lot of guys would go around because they didn't want to see our media guys, but the easiest way to the court in Moda Center for the visitors is to walk right through the place where the media eats. Like the media isn't in there. So there's a door and you could go around to the outside, but you could go right through the room where we're eating, and it's just faster to the court. So I remember one time I was sitting down, I was eating before a game, of course, like, having a healthy salad or something. Absolutely not. I was having cookies and junk, and Shaq walks through the media room where everyone's eating. And these are just, these are average sized people like in line getting food. And you can see Shaq in comparison to them. Like on a court, he looks big, but he doesn't look like just ridiculously gigantic. And when you have other media members who are average sized, 5'4", 210-pound guys, just kidding. But they're average sized people and less. And Shaq walks through, you're just like, oh my God, like you see them in that kind of perspective. So when I walked into the locker room for the first time and saw Javon Kinlaw next to his peers, next to a Nick Bosa, next to these kind of guys. And those guys are big, obviously, but Kinlaw was a whole nother level. I mean, just these massive vines for arms and he's just big everywhere. His chest, his arms, his legs, his butt, like everything. So you could see why teams looked at Javon Kinlaw and he passed the eye test in a second. And where some of the mistakes happen in the NFL draft is they think to themselves, if I draft this guy and he bombs, I'm still going to keep my job because I'm going to go to my owner and go to my the higher ups and say, but look at the guy. That's why Brock Purdy gets drafted 262, because they can't justify in the third round taking him, even though they might want to, because they look at his physical shortcomings and then they go, well, why the hell did you draft that guy? Look at him. Like Brady. Like we've all seen that picture from the combine. Brady looks terrible. He looks like he's drunk. He's coming off a bender. He has no muscle tone. Like he gets onto the scale and he looks awful. Well, you can't sell that to your owner. You can sell the way Trey Lance looked, even though he couldn't play. That's why you see mistakes all the time with guys who look like Tarzan and play like Jane. Like these guys look amazing. And that's part of the process is, will I get fired if this guy bombs? Because he sure as hell looks the part. So Javon Kinlaw looked the part. You walked in and went, eye test only. This guy's going to be good. And then he got on the field and he got pushed back and he had, he didn't understand technique and all these kind of things. So 6'5", 6'6", like he was just, he got forklifted constantly and he couldn't change it. But you looked at him and sometimes he could dominate and you're like, this guy should be amazing. And that's the cautionary tale when it comes to the NFL draft, is that you've got guys that and you can't always trade your pick because financially that doesn't make sense. And I understand why they went after Buckner and did what they did, but the reality of it is that you knew he could play. You didn't want him back in the day, and this is why Khalil Mack got traded too. Oh, a $20 million defensive lineman. Gruden couldn't do it. He was like, you can't have a $20 million quarterback and a $20 million defensive lineman. Well, those times have changed because you have a $30 million receiver and a $30 million left tackle. Like, why is that? Well, the cap, as we talked about yesterday and a little bit today, the cap has exploded, which is why you can sign Brock, re-sign Kittle, renegotiate Warner, take the hit on Debo, and still bring in Myles Garrett and probably Drew Dahlman, because that number keeps going up. $25 million year to year, over $50 million the cap has gone up in the last 2 years. That's amazing. All right. That's good on football. We good? We good? Any thoughts on the mocking the mock, anything like that? Yeah, Drew Brees, perfect example. He was taken in the second round. You're like, guy's not very big. Gonna have a real strong arm. You're like, okay, we'll see. Let me hit some of these before we move on to the college is different part of the show, which is amazing. Let's see. Hey, Bill M., thank you for the donation. Much appreciated. 100 years ago, I stood right next to Wilk. He was like a house. His shoulders were massive. Yeah, I'm trying to think. Thank you very much. Let me keep that up there. Thank you, Bill M. Much appreciated. I'm trying to think in all of my years. Shaq's probably the one. And I told you the Shaq story. I'll just tell it really short because anybody who is regularly in the room knows this. 1998, I was a bit of a neophyte reporter, and I was covering the Lakers and the Jazz. And like I said, the Western Conference Finals, and I was always assigned the other team, which I really loved. And so I was in a scrum, and I was on a knee, and I was talking to Shaq. Everyone was talking to Shaq, cameras and everything like that. So I had a metal microphone, kind of long metal microphone, and I'm on a knee, and I'm reaching it out. I'm kind of going out of the screen here, but you get an idea. I'm reaching I'm out like this with a full extended, and I'm on a knee because I'm in the front, and there's cameras and all these things behind me, and Shaq is talking low. And which is funny because now clearly he's in the media, but he used to talk like this to see what happens. So I'm looking at, I've got one of these old machines. They don't have any more. It's much easier now, but these big machines trying to record all this stuff. And I'm looking at my meters and I'm hardly getting anything. You need to have the meter like popping and it's down here. And I'm like, I don't know if I can boost this audio. If I don't get this audio, I'm going to get fired. Like, I'm the beat reporter here. I got to get this stuff, and I'm doing pre and post, and so I got to have a Shaq interview. And so I'm getting it closer and closer to his mouth. I'm turning the audio up, trying to get a better level. And all of a sudden, somebody hits my elbow from behind, and it just goes poof right into Shaq's mouth, hits him right in the tooth. And I thought to myself, in a brief second, I'm going to die. He's going to kill me. Because it was metal. This is like a black metal microphone, and it hits him right in the mouth. And he kind of smiled. I don't exactly remember what he said, but he like faked like he was going to do something. Then he smiled in the true Shaq way, and I thought, okay, I'm going to live. But in terms of the question of who was the biggest, most intimidating, Shaq was like a kid and still is, but still, I mean, he would walk onto the court, and it was like, my God, he's big everywhere, just massive. Kinlaw was like that to a point. NFL players, they're not as much because, I mean, they're big, but they're not like, once you cover an NBA team, it's just a different deal. Like you see them on the court. I've told this story before too. I was at the Malice of the Palace. I was working in Detroit, and they had where the media used to sit we weren't the flagship of the Pistons, but there was this like circular area, and they would put these chairs against this cement, I don't know, barrier that was behind the benches, way behind the benches. But then there was a walkway in front. There was the benches for the teams, then the court, and right behind you was like the first row for the fans. And so and they were like almost like folding chairs. They were just sat there. So we would sit there. That's where we'd watch the games from. And so you were right there. You could see how big the players were. And I remember one of the times when the whole thing broke out, it was the wildest thing you could ever see. So you're sitting there and it's surreal around you. And I remember, and this was just Detroit. Okay, man, you're messing with the D. We're going to come down and get you. And so these two young kids, not kids, they were probably around 21, 22 young. They were early 20s. And they come running down on the floor, of course, with their beers because hell was breaking loose. And I remember Jermaine O'Neal. And if you remember, Jermaine O'Neal played for the Warriors for a brief period of time, but drafted by the Blazers, 17 out of South Carolina. He was traded for Dale Davis, and then he really started to be really good when he was on the Indiana Pacers. So this is early in Jermaine's career. I don't remember how old he was, but Jermaine, he came into the league skinny, but he was all of 7 foot and maybe 240, maybe more than that. But I mean, again, maybe 6'11", whatever he was. That's a big man. Like he's 6'11", 240. Let's just say he was that big man. And so these drunk fans, I remember standing there as I'm just watching all this kind of stuff. And I remember these drunk two Pistons fans in their early 20s, average size guys, get to the court. And they really hadn't thought this out very well because they get to the court and they're looking right at Jermaine O'Neal, and Jermaine's looking at them. And look, it's on. Like it's on. It's a melee. It's crazy. Ron Artest and Ben Wallace, and people are going everywhere, and people are trying to pull people off. Jermaine O'Neal doesn't know what the hell's going on. And these guys, are they armed? Are they going to hit me? Are they going to, like, what the hell? And so Jermaine stood there and got in a stance with these guys. And these guys got to the court and went, damn, you look a lot bigger on TV. And they took off. They got to the court with no thought whatsoever what they were going to do. Came just about face to face, probably within a couple of feet of Jermaine O'Neal. He went with a stance like, all right, man, it's on. You come at me. You're on my court. You come at me. I don't know what you got going. And there's two of you. All right, it's on. And these two guys were like, no. 6'11", 240 with the big long arms. We didn't leave the house thinking we were going to be in on this tonight. No chance. So I just remember that was the one indelible thing that is burned into my mind is these two guys running from the stands, standing there, and then basically like stopping on a dime and turning and going, yeah, this is a bad idea. Because you just don't realize. So I know you get desensitized because you're in it all the time. And I'm not a big guy, but just the constant of Karl Malone was one. His arms were massive, just a massive dude. And I told you this story too. He got mad at me one time because of something I said. And that was not a fun feeling. Shawn Kemp, when he was at the height of his girthness, he had come from Cleveland. This wasn't Seattle Shawn Kemp. He had come from Cleveland to Portland, and he was massive. And I don't know if you know this, but Portland is per capita has the most strip clubs in the United States. I don't know if that is still the case, but it rains. People are depressed. They go to strip clubs. So I was in a strip club as a young man, and I'm not a strip club guy. And it had been like maybe a week or so before. Shawn Kemp was not supposed to be in bars. Bob Whitsitt was their GM. Was not supposed to be in bars. And so I'm sitting there and we see this money flying, right? This money is flying like crazy. And then we see the Blazers all the time in there. We'd see their vehicles like parked VIP in the front. Lots of Blazers would go there. It was just a thing. And we're sitting in there and there's a few Blazers in there that we had recognized. And we're not really going to say anything about it. Whatever. Do whatever you want. It's not really my thing. But then Shawn Kemp was in there throwing money around. And so I said it on my show. I did a PM Drive show there years and years and years ago. I said, geez, Shawn Kemp's not supposed to be in a bar. The NBA had just said it like a week prior. And I'm like, he's making it rain inside this certain bar. And like I said, I was a beat reporter too for the Blazers. So then I go the next day to like a shoot around. I walk into the locker room and I turn and I see him and he goes, and it wasn't good. And he's a big man. I mean, he's all of 6'11". At that point in his career, he's probably 280, 270. He was girthy. He was big. And he didn't put my hands on me. He didn't do anything like that. But he was clearly trying to intimidate me and basically tell me that it wasn't my job to do that. And he might be right. in growing with wisdom, I don't know that I would do that nowadays, but I basically just said, they got a week ago, the NBA said he's not supposed to be in those places, and there it is making it rain. He was not happy. And a 6'11", 270-pound man, and I'm 5'9", my weight fluctuates. Let's say I'm 5'9", 190, and he's 6'11", 270. Fairly intimidating. Shaq was a giant man, and he wasn't, that wasn't his aura unless he got into a game, and then obviously he was. But off the court, like, Shaq was cool and funny and all those kind of things. Even when I hit him in the mouth with a microphone, Sean Kemp was mad at me. Karl Malone, who was muscles upon muscles upon muscles upon muscles, was 6'9", 260, or at least listed that way. And when he had like a tank top on, he could crush me within like a bicep. Just like, when they're mad at you, that's not fun. That is not fun at all. Like, ooh, meaty bones. Yeah. Didn't they also have a dog thing called Meaty Bones? I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. No, actually, you know what? You'd be surprised. Pale skin for sure. But I mean, they had lots of them. And I wouldn't do that nowadays. Maybe I'd go there a little bit, but it's true. Portland's a great town, great food town. A lot of one-way streets. Be careful. Like, if you go in there and you have a couple of drinks or something, a lot of one-way streets, great food, cool food trucks. Northwest 23rd. I don't know if they still have the sandwich place and the New York pizza joint there. Really, really good. Yeah, Malice in the Palace. Yeah, the Malice in the Palace. The craziest thing I've ever seen. I mean, I'm just sitting there going, this is like a movie. Like, what is going on? It was crazy. I just remember that Jermaine O'Neal thing. It was because it happened right next to me. I was looking at him like, these guys are running down, not realizing, because I could see him coming. I'm like, dude is 6'11", like 260. And it was like, really? Oh my God, you're coming down here to confront him? Really? Anyway. All right, let's get to this, because I said college is different. I told you a long time ago I would do college is different. So let me do this, and let me just stop for 1 second. Thank you for making the time on a Thursday before I get to the college is different part of the chalkboard today. Thank you for tuning in. We always appreciate it. Do not take your viewership or listenership if you're listening on the podcast on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your favorite podcast. John Lund Unleashed there. Please make sure, if you're watching on Instagram or X, you can also watch on YouTube, and that way you can be in the chat room, hang out, do those kind of things. Please make sure you subscribe. That would be great. Make sure you give us a thumbs up for the algorithm. And if you keep your alerts on later today, like I did yesterday, I wrote the piece about who could help Nick Bosa out at johnlundunleashed.com. So there's a story there that I wrote, odds on those guys, and also a video that accompanies that. So later in the day, we do that all the time. We put out shorts yesterday. I put out a short on Draymond Green being much more in his media career, much more like Kendrick Perkins than he is Charles Barkley. So things like that. So if you do that, then you'll get those alerts. John Lund Unleashed on YouTube. So make sure you subscribe there. Also, johnlundunleashed.com. And like I said, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your favorite podcast, you can listen. We hit a button right after the show. Let me check in on Instagram really quick before I do this thing on the college thing, because this thing blows my mind. Good to see everybody. All right. Any questions, thoughts? A lot of people in the very cool. A lot of people on the Instagram feed. But if you got any questions and you're on Instagram, I check that. So make sure that if you got something, you can hit me up there as well. All right, let's get to this thing. I've been teasing it for probably 20 minutes about the chalkboard, which we try to stay fairly close and not go back and forth. But it says right there in the middle, college is different. Here's the story. Now we all know, right? I bought a bunch of Tony's pizzas. We would eat. We'd go to Costco to eat on Saturdays because it was like beer or food. So we'd stick our hands in bins, which is disgusting, but we would do it. Whatever beer was on sale, we bought it. Old Style Schmidt, Black Label, Hams, like whatever it was, Stroh's 30 packs. Like, it was just, you're getting by in college, right? You don't have the big car. You don't have the great car. You don't have any money. You're just like, oh my God, can I eat? All those kind of things. So let me pop this up. Did I do this at the end? Let me see where I find this thing. Oh, college is different right here. So that is kind of the backdrop. I'm not breaking any news here. You're broke in college. That's just how you're a broke college student. You're trying to get by, all those kind of things. You don't have a lot of money. So I see this, and this is part of the NIL. Carson Beck transfers from Georgia to Florida. He's got a girlfriend, one of the Cavinder twins. It seems like they've been around forever. They were one of the originals as far as NAL. They've made a ton of money. I guess they're still eligible. It's been like 10 years. His girlfriend, I'm not sure which one, she plays at the University of Miami basketball. Carson Beck was going to go into the draft, supposedly going to be a high pick, didn't have a great year, so he goes from Georgia to Miami, University of Miami of Florida, and I think they're paying him like $4 million this year to be their quarterback. So look at this story. College students, remember? Miami's Carson Beck and Hannah Cavinder had 3 vehicles stolen overnight in South Florida. Cavinder's SUV was found. They don't say which kind. But Beck's, get this, college quarterback, Beck's Mercedes and Lamborghini remain missing. These are college students. Carson Beck, who isn't really good, and that's why he went back another year. Like, geez, I'm not going to go to the draft. Number one, I need some more time. Miami's going to pay me $4 million to replace Cam Ward? Yes, please. So apparently he's living in some really nice condo with Hannah Cavinder. They had 3 vehicles stolen. He has a Mercedes and a Lamborghini. He's a college student. Lamborghini, Mercedes. I mean, I don't even know if he'd be drafted this year. If he was going to be maybe like 4th, 5th round with all those other guys like Riley Leonard and Will Howard and all those kind of guys. He has a Lamborghini and a Mercedes in college. In college. You know what I drove in college? My parents bought me a hatchback Subaru. It was like red. It wasn't bad. In fact, I felt like I was on the upper end of things. And because I went to Utah State, it was snowing all the time. So it had one of those things where, on the fly 4-wheel drive, and it was really good. And you could, it had ski racks and snowboard racks on the top. So we would snowboard and ski all the time. It worked out really, really well. But it was probably, probably a 10 or 12-year-old Subaru, but it worked fine. Subarus go forever. But it was like a hatchback Subaru that I could just throw my stuff in. It was always messy and had racks on the top so I could put snowboards and skis up there. And that was it. That was it. Subaru hatchback, probably 10 years old. And then when I wrecked it, because these trees, I tried to sue for this. These trees were covering a stop sign. And as a college student, I run said stop sign. I get nailed. And I call my parents and I'm like, yeah, the Subaru is it's gone. It's trashed. It's totaled. And I need a new car. And they're like, new car? What are you, insane? Because it was deemed my fault. And as I have found out way too much now, I mean, paying, especially in California, if you're not here, paying for a children, now he's 21 now. I should look at those rates. But I mean, paying insurance rates are insane. And so at the time, I'm probably the same age, 2021. And I'm like, yeah, I need a new car. They're like, you ran a stop sign. We could barely pay your insurance as it is. No dice. And so I ended up buying a mountain bike for maybe $600 or $500. I buy a mountain bike, and it's a small college town, so I could get around, but no more like dates. Like, hey, I'm going to pick you up on my Fisher bike. They're like, what? So I was living, pretty high on the hog with a 10-year-old Subaru driving around. I could drive up to the ski resorts, no problem with it. It was very good. I could go on dates in it. Zip around town, even though it wasn't a big college town. It was a small college town. After that, my folks are like, sorry, you ran a stop sign, even if there was a tree covering it, and there was. Getting an accident, my insurance rates would have went through the roof, and my parents said no go. And Carson Beck is driving a Lamborghini followed by a Mercedes. What the what? College is wild, man. So as I put on the screen there, college is different. I had a Subaru, then I didn't have a Subaru, then I had a mountain bike, and then my senior year, because I worked all summer and bought it myself, I bought like a 10-year-old Toyota truck with like a shell on it because, again, we wanted to go up skiing. So I think that was like my sophomore year, like middle of my sophomore year. Lose the Subaru, gone. Go for like a year without a vehicle in a small college town, and then I buy a 10-year-old Toyota with my own money summer because my parents are like, sorry, it's not happening. And I think I even kicked in on insurance or something like that so that I could have a car my senior year, because at that point, I think my parents moved and I had to go back and forth. I needed a vehicle at that point. But this guy's got a Mercedes and a Lamborghini, and he's not even a good quarterback. And that's the NIL. I think he's making $4 million to play in Miami. And I think they give him a condo too. And he's got a condo with that girl. And the Cavinder twins have made a boatload in NIL. I mean, just a ton. Really attractive girls, and they've gone to, I don't know, 2 or 3 different schools. I think they started at Fresno State, as a matter of fact. They like Fresno State, Miami, somewhere else. I don't even know if she's eligible anymore. Anyway, they live together, and he's got a Lamborghini and a Mercedes as a college kid. I mean, how insane is that? And they were stolen. My Lambo was stolen, bro. Jesus. You kidding me? Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is what it's like. This is college. I got my dad's Plymouth Fury convertible. Like, that's what we did. Like, whatever. Like, what? I mean, seriously. It was ridiculous. No, I don't have Fry's son. Good call right there, Tacky. Good to see you. Did the Toyota's license plate say Fry's son? No, I wish they would have. Yeah, he had Fry, man. That's it. In fact, you know what? My parents have a place on a lake, and they have all these memorabilia kind of stuff. And they have a bar, and above the bar, it's the old license plate that says Fry Man. They actually kept that thing, which that's a good call right there. I mean, that is crazy. Lamborghini. He's got a Lamborghini and a Mercedes. College kid. Which should I drive to class today? In fact, doesn't Shedeur bought a what was it? A Rolls-Royce Ghost, I think, SUV, and I think that thing was worth, because I think he made $5.2 million or something. I think he was number one, or $6 million or whatever Shedeur made, and he bought a Rolls-Royce Ghost like SUV that was worth like $400,000-$500,000. That's why I don't want to be in the Shedeur Sanders business. I'm like, you're in college. You need $500,000, $600,000. I don't know. It might even be more than that. You need a Rolls Royce in college. Could you imagine a Rolls Royce? You roll up. What do you got there? A Rolls. What's that thing worth? $600,000. Like, there's no guarantee he's going to be great in the pros. I don't know, Dion. I don't know. I mean, get a nice car. You deserve it, but might want to sock a few bucks away. But I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe he's just going to be great. Ooh, look at this. This is a great call by Frank. I am fortunate enough to still have my 1965 Oldsmobile from my high school days. That's crazy. I wonder how many people. There's no way. I told you this. So in high school, and this is another dumb thing I did. I told you this. I had an incredible. My dad gave it to me. A 1978 Blazer that I've popped on the show before. I found, and big wheels and 400 engine. All this stuff is awesome. And then, like I said, I was racing to school one day, slid on ice, 360'd about 3 times, hit a bunch of trees, took somebody's front yard out. That thing sat in our garage for about a year. I thought my dad was actually going to fix it. He went, yeah, you can look at that for a while. I had problems with accidents growing up. And then he was like, yeah, you're not getting that. Here's a $1,000 Subaru that's 10 years old. You'll take that to college. That's what my senior year, I think my junior year, I wrecked that thing. My senior year didn't have a car. And then my dad said, well, you're going off to college. Here's a 10-year-old Subaru, which then 2 years later, I wrecked that. And you imagine what my insurance rates were? Not good. Not good. We're not even to the random section. Yeah, wait, random is just kind of through the whole show. We just do random stuff throughout the whole show. Cutlass Supreme. My dad had a company car that was his Cutlass Supreme, and I drove that thing all the time. That's what I drove like my junior when he left the Blazer in the garage. He would let me every once in a while, if I was going on a date. Can you imagine going on a date with me? Like, I pull up to the house, and my dad's blue. It was like a navy blue. Could have been more boring. Terrible inside, like a bad rental car. And it was a Cutlass Supreme and by Oldsmobile. And I would pull that up to a house, and a girl would come, and their parents would just look at it like, what is that kid driving that old company car for? What the hell is that thing? That's what I had to drive. Like, other kids had cool cars and all these kind of things, even like a Volkswagen Bug or bus or something like that. Something that was appropriate for your age. And here I am pulling with this old man car. Can I pick up your daughter? My Oldsmobile Cutlass. I mean, isn't there anything more old than Oldsmobile? I mean, it's called Oldsmobile. Like, who came up with that marketing genius? Hey, cool, hip. What do we want to call our car company? How about Oldsmobile? How about no? Oldsmobile? Like, who wants to be old? Here's a good idea. Oldsmobile. Oldsmobile? I have this theory. When a company does something so stupid and bad, it was like from the president or something, and nobody had the balls to just go, hey, boss, that's stupid. That sucks. Like, the guy who came up with the name Oldsmobile had to be the owner of the place. What does everybody think of Oldsmobile? And everybody's under their breath going, oh, my God, what a horrible name. Oldsmobile? old? Who wants to be old? Oldsmobile. And I would pull up in an Oldsmobile Cutlass Supreme. Old. Oldsmobile. Good name. Like Chevy, Ford, Ford, Henry, Ford. Like, I get it. Some of these things. Oldsmobile. Great name, boss. Great name. Great name, boss. Oldsmobile. Who's against that? Like, everybody's like, oh my God. Is the boss drunk again? He's calling our company Oldsmobile. How the hell am I going to sell that to people? I don't know. But he's the boss. And we're calling it Oldsmobile because who's going to step up and tell the old man he's stupid? Not me. I'd like to have a job. Excuse me, sir. Oldsmobile? You're fired, Johnson. Get out. I mean, that's how it works. Oldsmobile. What a terrible. I never even thought of that. What a terrible name for a company. All right. Let's go from college is different to this. Remember yesterday, so I'm really upset because I had these great pictures, and I'm going to try to fix it and make them so that, I'll try to do this tomorrow. But I told you today, because I told a story near the end of the show that I had never told anybody, that we had a bad December. My wife and I in 2021 had a terrible trip to Hawaii where my mom lives, and we rented a condo and all the kids got sick. So then we came back in January on KNBR, and it was 2021. We're going to the playoffs. The Niners going to the playoffs. They're getting ready to play Dallas. Remember the game that Dak slid and they ran out of time. And they told us that Monday when we got back from our vacation, and they told us that Monday, yeah, we're because of the pandemic, we're shutting it down again. So we had been out of the studio for a year, came back for a short period of time, then they booted us out again because there was, it reared its ugly head again. So I called my wife on like a Monday after the show. And I said, hey, they're going to shut down the studio. I know this is crazy, but let's head off to Maui. And she goes, let's do it. Because we kind of needed to redo. Her ex-husband, I think, had the kids, whatever the case may be. So we had like a free week. So I call over. There was a condo place. Guy happened to be from Oakland, knew the show, said, I can get you set up so I could plug in. I could do the show. I was all nervous about it. Did it. But that weekend, there was a playoff game between, obviously, the Cowboys and the 49ers in Dallas, the infamous Dak slid. They ran out of time game. And the next week, of course, they played the Rams. Should have won that. 𝐃𝐨𝐧'𝐭 should have played the Bengals. Should have won the Super Bowl. Anyway, point is, I didn't tell anybody. So I do the show with Papa, and I'm in Maui the whole time in a condo. Nobody knew. And then that weekend, I talked to a place. It was called the Dirty Monkey. We talked about this yesterday. We played at the Dirty Monkey, and I did the pregame from there, the first half of the show. Then I went for the second half of the show, and I can't remember, and this is in Lahaina. Everything's gone now. And I went across the street, and there was a small TV, but I wanted to be on the ocean. And so I was like, I'm going to watch this, and then this is going to be really cool. I'm on the ocean. So I had two different bars. I did the pregame from the Dirty Monkey, and we rented a condo in Lahaina from the Dirty Monkey, the big Niners bar, really, really cool. And then in the second half, I did the halftime. And then in the second half, I went across the street, wanted to be on the ocean, watched the game, took all my notes. Then because there was a network post game that Papa and Tim Ryan do, it's only it was less than a 10-minute walk to our condo from there, downtown Lahaina. And I could do the post game from the condo because I had broadcast equipment. So this is where, and I never told anybody this, so I went off to Hawaii and did pre, half, and post from Maui, and nobody even knew it. And so here was the bar that I was at, and this is the TV, and you can see this. See right there? So this is in Lahaina, and I'm watching this game, and you can see there. Hopefully that's you can see that well enough. And make that any bigger? I guess that's it. You can see there that that's the Niners and that's the Cowboys. That's the playoff game. What does that say? 14-7? I can't even hardly read that myself. But that's the bar that I'm at. And so you're thinking, well, that's kind of a nondescript bar. That doesn't look like you're in Maui. Okay. So this is the other side of it. That was behind me. So here I am supposedly working, doing the post game. You can see right there in the picture, it says Lahaina Historic District, right? Lahaina Historic District. I found that on my phone yesterday, or in my cloud or whatever. And that's what's behind me. So the TV's in front of me right there. I'm working, quote unquote, Lahaina Historic District. You can see there, it says there. And then that's the view behind me right there as I'm supposedly, doing the game. And then they're doing the post-game show, and that's where I'm doing it. And nobody knew that I was in Maui the whole time because of the pandemic. I'm like, we're going to Hawaii because the Christmas with the kids over on the Big Island was a disaster. They're going to shut us out of the studio again. This is 2021. I call my wife. We're going to Maui. We do the show. I do the show Monday through Friday. Sunday, I think it was actually Saturday was that playoff game. Saturday, I do pre, half, and post from Maui And that was the second half. And I do from Maui, I do it again, the Cowboys and the Niners. Niners ended up winning that game. Dak slides too late. I walk then from where I was right there to my radio equipment that was in the condo, did the post game, and nobody knew. Nobody on the show knew. And I think I was doing it then with Krug. Didn't tell anybody on the show. Didn't tell them I was in Maui. Didn't tell them I was doing the post, pre-half and post from there. Never told Greg, like, for probably a year. He was in Dallas actually working the game because we needed to get away. But yeah, that's where I was watching the game from. That was behind me in Lahaina. And that was the small TV I was watching off of, taking notes, sitting at the bar, doing my due diligence for that game. And then afterwards, well, from my perspective, thousands of miles away from Dallas, this is what I saw. And so you're the first to know about that. That's it. That's where I was doing my job, working very hard. Let's see. I think that's it. I got a couple of things to promote here, and I don't think you want to go anywhere because I want to tell you about this, but let me just go back to the comments and get your thoughts on that. How cool was that, by the way? It's very sneaky, but very worth it. Oh, it was very cool. Yeah, it was very, that's the one I meant to. Yeah, sneaky. It was good. But that's what everybody did. I mean, you didn't have to go into the office anymore. You're like, the heck with it, man. Ooh, that's a nice that's not a bad first car, man. 79 Chevy Silverado truck. Yeah, I'm with you, man. We can go back for a minute here. Juicy versus moist. Juicy, I don't know. Juicy burger, juicy steak. Moist is just like, ugh. I don't know. It just sounds weird. I don't know I have no idea. Let's see. Ooh, the old S10. I remember the old S10 trucks. Yeah. It sounded like a lawnmower. Oh, amazing, man. Let's see here. Yeah, that goes back. I mean, like I said, I'll pop that up one more time. I just think that's the nuttiest thing I've ever seen. Like, are you kidding me? College is way different. We're all talking about our first cars. Carson Beck, $4 million to be the University of Miami quarterback. And his girlfriend, Hannah Cavender, who's been around forever playing basketball, started at Fresno State. They've made a ton of money on NAL. SUV was found, but Beck's Mercedes and Lamborghini remain missing. He's a college student. Mercedes and Lamborghini. That's what he's got. That's insane. All right, here's the deal. Thanks for hanging out with us today. Had a great Thursday show, and I hope we learned something. Go to JohnLundUnleashed.com for that piece on who could possibly, the odds on who could be across from Nick Bosa. Make sure that you are joining John Lund Unleashed on YouTube, telling all your friends and enemies, making sure you're subscribing, they're subscribing. We're growing the community. All those kind of things. Thank you for listening on X and Instagram today at John Lund Radio. You can follow comments on the show. Always welcome. You don't have to agree. All right. So Damon Bruce and I in 35 minutes. That's where I'm going to leave right now. We've been at it 2 hours and 2 minutes and 12 seconds, 2 hours and 12. I'm going to do an hour with Damon at 11 o'clock. We'll chop it up. So go over to his channel and check that out. And then tomorrow, Tolbert's on the show tomorrow. I'm not sure what time. He and I are going to collaborate on something later. I got to give him a call, but Tolbert and his show, the Tom Tolbert Show, is going to debut on YouTube Monday. I'm not sure what time, but we'll find out when you join the show tomorrow. So I will let you know. Another reason why you should have your alerts on. I will kick out when Tolbert's going to be on tomorrow. Just tune in tomorrow at 8 o'clock and you'll see. But Tolbert Friday on the show, Tom Tolbert, the Tom Tolbert Show will debut on YouTube on Monday. And I don't know what time, but we're going to find out from Tom. So some good stuff. 11 o'clock today with Damon. Tom on the show tomorrow. And what else? I think that's it. I think we've hit everything. How did everybody do today? Everybody cool today? We went through a lot of stuff. LeBron's foot is fine. Thank goodness. Warriors sprint, NFL free agents who fit. That didn't work out. It kept resetting. It kept refreshing that page. 49ers cap, they're in good shape. Nick and who, that's up at johnlundunleashed.com on the blog. Let's see. College is different. Hawaii picks, DB, Damon Bruce at 11, Tom Friday. Random is always the entire show. Moist, food, first cars, and all that kind of stuff. Is Tom going to aim for his old time slot? Whatever is convenient for Tom is what he's going to do. I don't know what time he's going to do something. Again, tomorrow we'll find out. But yeah, he's going to join us in the community, John Lund Unleashed, tomorrow. Anything else? Good to see you, Mary. Yeah, Tom is going to join the show tomorrow, and I'm excited because Tommy's been doing all sorts of cool stuff and putting up videos. And if you just make sure you join the Tom Tolbert Show, it's on YouTube. It took me a second to find it because if you put Tom Tolbert in on YouTube, there's a million things that come up. So it's the Tom Tolbert Show, and make sure that you're following him. Juicy steak, moist turkey. Can it be a juicy turkey? I guess you're right, Pine Needle. It is a juicy steak and it's a moist turkey. But why is it like when somebody says like moist, that cake is really moist? I don't know. Maybe I just said it in a creepy way and it's not creepy to anybody else. Juicy steak, moist turkey. Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. All right, that's it. Thank you so much for hanging out. We always told you, Apple, Spotify, John Lund Unleashed, JohnLundUnleashed.com. Have a wonderful Thursday. 11 o'clock. Join us. I'm not done. Damon Bruce and his channel at 11 o'clock. Tom Tolbert tomorrow. Everybody, thanks for hanging out today. Thanks to Bill M, Skills Report, Daniel. Thanks for donating to the show today. You can always do that. If you missed any portion of the show, obviously you can go back and watch it later at John Lund Unleashed and JohnLundUnleashed.com. Happy Thursday, everybody.
Thanks for hanging out with John Lund Unleashed. We'll try to be better next time, though I wouldn't hold my breath. Please like and subscribe on the John Lund Unleashed Pod YouTube channel. Watch live shows weekdays at 8 a.m. on YouTube, Instagram, and X. And make sure to have your alerts on for shows throughout the day or night. All things Lund can be found at JohnLundUnleashed.com. JohnLundUnleashed.com.
Goodbye!